Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to another edition of 13 Cards Subject to Change. We are once again bringing you live from Leroy's Kitchen. It's Zach here. Leroy is here as well. Leroy is currently finishing cutting up a nice loaf of banana bread that just came out of the oven. One of the benefits of doing this in a kitchen is that we basically have access to snacks 24/7.
Well, yeah, when you got a fat guy like me that loves cooking and baking, I don't know.
Yeah, well,
I work around too many women at work. I blame them. And that's why I like to bake.
Sounds like most of Leroy's life, blaming women for all the things that are wrong. Anyway.
Well, that's why I'm not married anymore.
Yeah, sure, that's why.
Okay.
Anyway, also on the show today, we got him back after a couple weeks off, ladies and gentlemen. Jesse is back on the show. Jesse, how you doing?
Oh, doing really good. Thank you guys for having me back. Cannot wait to talk wrestling, and this is the most delicious banana bread ever. You guys are missing out.
Yeah, no, it's super good.
Well, if they want to come on the show... we'll get them on here, and maybe I'll have some banana bread or some cookies, or
that, or we just start charging. You know, we'll
we get
Chris Jericho.
Maybe.
So anyway, on today's show, we got a sort of a stacked card here, a bunch of them that we can go through. Not really too much of an order because we got just a bunch of stuff going on. I really hate to start the show like this, but I figure let's get it out of the way, and then we can all move on. Recent wrestling news that has come out in the last week or so. Kamala, the big honking heel type guy with the African Beast character has recently passed away after multiple years of having health concerns.
The Ugandan Giant.
There we go. Personally, for me, when I heard the news, nothing surprised me about it because we all know he'd been having problems for a number of years there. We all know he'd had some financial issues for a while there as well. I know that Chris Jericho has donated $5,000 and everything there to his funeral, so his funeral's been taken care of. Chris making sure
that was
very sweet of Chris.
Yeah,
there was a GoFundMe page. It's still going.
Oh yeah.
You can look it up, and they wanted $30,000, and when I checked yesterday, it was at $31,141.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
When you look at GoFundMe over the years for wrestling, it's been such a tool for, I think, a lot of the older guys to really reconnect with people. I think the biggest thing for me was when Jake, the Snake Roberts, needed shoulder surgery, and it was like, I think it was like 10 or 15 grand to do the surgery, or what it was. They set the goal, I think, around like, it might have been 6,000, something like that. I don't know.
Something like that.
Yeah, something like that. It's actually in the Resurrection of Jake the Snake Roberts, the video.
Oh, yeah.
But for those of you that don't know the story, Diamond Dallas Page set up the GoFundMe page, and Jake told him it was just a stupid idea because he was like, nobody gives a damn about me anymore. It's like this isn't gonna work. And I think in like one night they raised like, I don't know, like 10 grand or something. It might have been.
It's like $10,000-$15,000. It shocked him.
In no time they did that.
Oh,
and
yeah,
he was just shocked beyond
Well, that was one night after Paige put it up, and I just remember Jake. Obviously they did it in like tiers, kind of like a Patreon account, where like a certain amount of money, you got a message from Jake, you got memorabilia, this, that, yada yada. And I remember the video that Jake put up. I think it was just for everybody. It was just basically like, boy, this really taught me that what I did for all those years really did mean something. And that's just the thing with Kamala is, I mean, that's a character that you just remember. And, I always say this on the show, and I always get kind of emotional, is wrestling is that show, it's that form of entertainment, it's that sport. It brings people together that just don't associate in real life ever.
Yeah.
And it's just these characters. See, people think that the veil being removed from wrestling and kayfabe going away, people don't like it that much, and there's pros and cons to it. Obviously, I'm not going to sit here and talk about too many cons, but I think what's really nice about sort of social media and being able to connect with people is, you in a way, you get to show your appreciation to these guys in ways that you never used to be able to do. And Kamala might have been sort of a very heelish character, and a giant that was supposed to piss everybody off, but again, these are characters from people's childhoods, and these are people who are growing up now, and it's like you hear Kamala, and you might not remember any specific match, but you remember moments, you remember him coming out, you remember the stuff he was able to do, and this is just a really rough thing for the community. I hate when the young guys don't get to talk to people like that anymore. I mean, there's so many things that these people just know. I don't care if you're a Hogan or an Arn Anderson, or if you're a Kamala who I don't think was ever in the category of a Hulk Hogan or Arn Anderson. But any insight you can get in this business is always a very big thing. So normally on the show we always do a 10-bell salute. We're going to get to that in a second. Before we get to that, Leroy and Jesse, you guys want to say a few words about the Ugandan Giant?
Just that, James created this incredible character. I can still remember a couple of the interviews he did with Mean Gene Okerlund and God rest his soul, and grabbing his face and things of that nature. And yeah, when I learned of his passing, it was quite sad, because while he had been battling that stuff for about 10, 15 years, it did sound like he was on the right side of the battle. We kind of lost a giant in wrestling, in its own sense, because it was really cool to see online a lot of the love and sadness from even the younger fans who maybe like watch with their older siblings or parents. And I'm sure for the family that actually has to feel good that he's not going to be forgotten.
Oh God, no!
There's nothing that could happen.
I feel like wrestling also is so different because, and I think Ultimate Warrior's the best example of it, is that you can come in a really short period of time, 5-6 years, and you can make an impression.
Oh yeah.
And it just never goes away.
Yeah.
In other sports, you see guys that'll have 5-6 years and they'll be the talk of the town, and next thing you know, I mean, I don't want to reopen any wounds here, but I mean, you're a Jets fan. You've had, you've had plenty of guys who they had short runs but were huge in the league.
Yeah.
Most recently, probably Matt Forte is probably the best example, and then kind of fizzled out a little bit with you guys. I mean, older, yes, but I mean, Matt was one of those guys that for 5 or 6 years was great, but then he just kind of became consistent, and then kind of fizzled up. And then obviously, you guys have had two great quarterback talents in Vinny Testaverde and Chad Pennington. It's just, for 5-6 years, you're like, oh my God, this turned the franchise around, and then all of a sudden it's like, boom, they're done and gone. And, even the franchise kind of forgets about them a little bit. But I mean, that's sports. But I mean, I look at Kamala and I think of one of those characters that was very over the top, Leroy, especially during the sort of 80s WWE.
Oh, definitely. He was out there and you went like, oh, yeah, we're shocked. I mean,
but again,
he was great.
But again, it goes back to commitment to the character.
Oh yeah.
Commitment to the gimmick, to what you were doing, and I just say to myself, here's a black man who's being made to look like a sort of, not to get racist, but I mean like African sort of tribal person versus educated.
Yeah.
But he went with it. He ran with it, and he did great with it. And again, like you said, all the love and support that came out on the internet, it was just great to know that no one really looked at it as a negative. I mean, you had fans from all races, religions, and creeds that were all just like, well, damn, that sucks. And we're not going to get to, ever see him again at like conventions or stuff like that. And, it's like it's really cool when you get to see those guys.
I can give you a few tidbits. I'm here.
Go for it.
James Arthur Harris is his real name, his given name, and he became in the ring Kamala the Ugandan Giant. That was brought to him with the help of Jerry the King Lawler. He was.
I don't think people actually understand. Look. Jerry's always been known in the wrestling business as kind of a snaky kind of guy. But again, it was the old territory days. Everybody was fighting for a spot, and Jerry's not the cleanest soul in the world. I mean, no one's ever going to say that. But Jerry is also one of those guys where I don't think people ever are gonna remember what his contribution to the business is. I'm pretty sure he holds the record for the most total championships, just period. I think it's at like 150.
Yeah,
I'll have to definitely look.
He's got like 150 championships.
But yeah, with him helping, I mean, and doing a little research to learn more about him, I found it was a simple. He needed ring gear, and all of a sudden this character popped out.
Yeah,
and Jim Cornette talked about him, and he said there was no other guy around that could have done this.
Oh God.
He was not extremely formally trained. He grew up in Mississippi, and a lot of tragedy in his family. And there, his father was shot dead during a dice game, and he ran against the law on the other side a little bit. it happens. In
another one of those
1967.
stories-
I mean,
this
it's
is
going to
one of those
happen.
stories where again, it's like I've been very lucky in my life to where I'm not saying that I come from the cleanest town in the world. I don't think anyone's ever gonna say it's the cleanest town in the world. But I've been able to sort of stay on the right side of things more by choice than by anything else. But I mean, there are times when people just don't have that luxury, and it happens. And Mississippi's not exactly known as the cleanest state in the union.
No.
It's never. It's always had a very rough past of just anything in general. But I mean, again. Are we going to sit here and act like Booker T didn't have a... I mean, Booker T actually, I'm pretty sure, did some prison time.
I think a couple of years.
Yeah, a little bit.
For I think it was armed robbery.
Yeah. And he was young, and he was 25. He went to Florida, and that's where he ran into a wrestling promoter. Thought about doing it. He was training up in Michigan, and then he came back because it was kind of cold up there in Michigan.
Yeah.
And he debuted in 1978. He was a AWA Southern Heavyweight Champion, GLWA Heavyweight Champion at least once, a Mississippi NWA Mississippi Heavyweight Champion, United States Tag Team Championship with Oki Sanaka.
Well, you look back at some of those NWA championships.
He's done a lot.
It's crazy how far that the NWA used to spread.
Yes.
I mean,
Oh yeah. And he was a USWA United World Heavyweight Championship. He was that 4 times. He is also in the Texas Wrestling Hall of Fame. But yeah, I said I knew him mostly in his time when he was with WWE. I mean, he was in
well, that's the thing
everywhere.
About this is that I don't want people to think that we're just saying, oh, it's Kamala, he had another name, yada yada. But it's like you can't sit there and deny what he's known for. Yeah. What he's known for is his time on the biggest television sporting company that this business has ever had. And I know recently Mike Kanellis has said they're no longer the Premier League, but they're just the biggest. Well, that's to be determined by people who've actually been there and had success there. Nothing against Mike. I actually thought he was a good guy, but it's like one of those things where it's like everyone just tries to bounce hate off them to try to get some indie booking off it. But
he's a WCW. He made 3 stints with WWE. He actually had a little with TNA. He premiered showing on a couple of different shows with TNA. I said I grew up.
And that was back before TNA was really deep into bringing in every guy that had been.
Yeah, it was 2002 to 2010. He was with the independent circuit.
Well, that was back when if I remember correctly, that's back when they were on Fox. They were on Fox Sports North.
I think so. Yeah.
They had a Fox Sports deal.
Yeah, and that was the early two. That's when he was doing that. So
my buddy and I used to come home, and that was on around 3-4 o'clock when we got home from school.
All right.
But anyway, Leroy, I'm probably gonna get a little emotional, but we'll just get this over with, ladies and gentlemen. We are gonna let Leroy give you some 10 bells, and rest in peace, Kamala. Thank you for all the years. And I'm telling you, whether it's a video game or not, I want someone to create a way to make that Heaven Battle Royal happen, because that's a hell of a card up there, ladies and gentlemen.
Oh, it definitely is.
Just and set, and it's like, this is the saddest thing I have to say, but it just keeps getting better. Fantastic. All right. So moving on to another subject here. So Jesse, you may or may not know this, but recently Leroy's been keeping track of our stats on Podomatic.com, and we've actually had an upturn in the weeks following my AEW rants. People seem to have enjoyed that.
That's scary. We talk about AEW and we get more views.
Well, love them or hate them, Spot Monkey's the top.
So yeah, I've come to realization that I told Zach, we might have to talk about AEW
a lot more often. Anyway,
on the show, highlight them at least once on the show for a little bit.
So anyway, Jesse, Leroy can confirm this. I've been sort of complimentary of them a little bit more since the rants. But you were obviously here. You were kind of surprised on that show that you were going to be here for that. I mean, we didn't plan that week, so you just kind of showed up.
Yeah.
But luckily, you were kind of there to sort of bounce some positive out there. So, I mean, before we get into anything that they've recently done, So we've had some time to let it settle.
Mm-hmm.
More stuff has come out. I mean, okay, so overall, you talked about the relationship with New Japan. You've talked about, needing to get back to certain things, but like, you also said I wasn't wrong in any of the criticism that I gave them. So,
No.
so okay, I'm gonna give you the floor here for just a second. I mean, like, what is your overall what they've done so far? And I mean, like, if they've done so much wrong, what do we have to look forward to? I guess.
So, by the way, it's coming up on a year now since Dynamite debuted.
About 10 months.
Yeah, man, it's crazy. October is getting so close here.
Oh my
God. One of the things, the biggest thing you were absolutely right about is they took their shot at the biggest company in the world.
Nothing wrong with that.
Which is nothing wrong with that.
No.
But if you're going to come out with that kind of piss and vinegar, you better come correct. As the saying goes, if you come at the king, you better take the king's head.
You best not miss.
And the problem is that, as like I said before, I did not start out the biggest AEW fan, because when I saw that press conference, I said this is a lot of pompous and circumstance.
Yeah.
And if you're not as great as you are going to claim to be, there's going to be a ton of backlash. It's going to be hard for you to survive. But what I have seen as I have watched is, like I said, and one thing that has continued to be a negative is the women's division, but I will get to that in a moment. One of the big positives is...
You mean AEW heels?
That's actually
like that.
I don't even blame, when I think of AEW heels, I think people blame Brandy Rhodes, but the problem is she does not write the stories for the women's division. That's Kenny Omega. So like I said, that's something I will get into about the negative, but the big positive I do see is...
I also want to point out, look, Brandy waking up to a bunch of N-word comments on Twitter
was ridiculous.
Okay, for all the fans out there, look, Brandy, in my opinion, is one of the biggest thorns in my side in AEW. That's uncalled for. If she leaves Twitter because of that, that's perfectly fine.
Yeah.
But I will say this. Recently, there's been so many people from AEW that are deleting Twitter, which to me seems weird because they seem to be the most socially known company, and they have all these hashtags in like the picture-in-picture, but... I hate to say it. And again, Brandy, I'm not saying you have to sit there and take racial slurs, but people are going to hate you on Twitter. I'm sorry, it's going to happen.
Yeah.
But the Bucks left. I think Matt is back, not Nick. But
I think Matt came back, but Nick left.
But the thing is that Joey Janela's gone. No one cares there. But Brandy's now deleted her Twitter, and I'm sitting here looking at myself like, I hate to say it, but when you are big and you're in the public eye, you're gonna get some hate on Twitter. She does block the people with the N-word. I don't care.
Absolutely.
But I'm saying for the people that sent you 40 messages saying you're an idiot and didn't use the N-word, you have to take that. I'm sorry, you do, because the fact of the matter is that, again, we were talking about social media breaking kayfabe, breaking the veil. I mean, your thoughts on like all these people just like, we're gonna leave. The only thing that's getting us... And not to mention, the Bucks. Twitter's what gave you...
I do have to agree. Joey Janela, no one's really gonna miss him. It was incredible when he had some sort of kind of online feud with Enzo, and Enzo actually got a little bigger off of that. But
his tweet was the biggest bunch of BS I ever saw. I'm leaving Twitter, and by the way, I've never botched in my entire career, and I didn't do it on AEW Dark. Dude, that's the only time I'll ever agree with Joey Janela. You haven't botched anything. Okay, first of all, I'm not saying he's good in the ring, but it's like, if he says he's never botched anything in the ring, I'm kind of going to agree, because, dude, your entire freaking career's been a botch. I'm not going to go too far to that. But I mean, it's just, look, the women's division is an absolute farce.
Listen, the women's division,
and now they're making people pay for it?
So AEW Heels is basically, what she was trying to do is build a community for the women who love AEW.
Which surprisingly, there are actually women fans.
There are a lot. Actually, there's a ton of female fans, and a lot of them are former, lovers of, who were young, who like the Attitude Era and Ruthless Aggression era of WWE growing up.
My biggest
and
problem
ECW,
is that,
which is weird to like ECW as a woman.
I'm not saying you have Sasha Banks or Charlotte level wrestlers in AEW.
Well, here's the thing,
but,
though.
But what you have is you have talented women that can portray a gimmick.
Absolutely.
But they need a writer who understands
So,
women's wrestling.
and here's the biggest problem with the AEW's women's division. By the way, I actually think Hikaru Shida is very, very good.
No.
But the problem is they don't have her on enough.
Well, no.
And that's
to clarify what I'm
problem.
saying,
Yeah.
I'm not saying that they don't have a Sasha Banks level athlete.
Yeah.
But they don't have the consistency. They don't have, because here's the deal. You go down the list. Tegan Nox might be one of the blandest characters in the NXT women's division. Tegan Nox can wrestle.
Yes, she can.
All damn day.
Yes, she can.
This is why when they had that triple brand battle royal, I said if Nox wins, it'll be a good contest.
Yeah.
But if this is when you finally end Bayley's reign, it has to be a story to end a 300-plus day reign, and Nox just doesn't have that.
No.
But you look at NXT from up and down. Now, yes, I did say on a past episode that I don't think it's as deep as people think. But when I say that, I'm saying it's not as deep in terms of complete veteran characters. But I mean, Dakota Kai, Tegan Nox, Rhea Ripley, alone can out wrestle 90% of the roster in AEW. But AEW's got some interesting women that can put across a character.
Absolutely.
But the problem is that the dude writing it has never written any wrestling in his career.
But that's how they can help. Kenny, sit down, shut the hell up. Your voice is annoying, as Jim Cornette said. I do agree with him. And just shut up and go play with yourself in the corner and let somebody else write for the damn thing.
And like I said, my huge thing with the women's division, one is Kenny needs to stop. Like, I actually would have been more accepting if the women's division was what it was because of Brandy Rose. Because I'd be like, well, listen, she was a reporter in WWE, before,
she's a ring announcer,
and so I have no problem. She's, they're just trying to let her learn the job and stuff like that. But I'm like, it's Kenny Omega, who is one of the best wrestlers in the world, got to work with New Japan for years and years and years.
But he had good agents too. I mean.
Well, true, Kato. Yeah, but it's one of those things though where it's just like you made this big fuss, and the biggest reason why you left New Japan was for Riho, who's now at this point probably going to go back to Japan because you guys can't even actually have her on the show. So at some point she's going to go back. Like, she's going to go back to Japan.
Her entire character's dead. Seriously, without the fans of AEW, no one gives a shit about this roster. No one cares.
It's so, and like
yes,
I said,
a lot of the talent stuck overseas.
Which is...
I agree with Gene in the lounge. I'm going to give them another year maybe before I truly put my stamp on get rid of this. But the problem is that you are not making these women presentable.
Well, and
I'm not saying sexy or anything, but they're not presentable.
They're not on very much.
No.
And then, I mean...
And back to your Brandy point,
yeah.
if I may say, I'm sorry, but she is the biggest example of it's a vanity project. She wants her... By the way, did you hear about her action figure? It's now officially... Now, Leroy, you probably don't know this. It's now officially, not only is it the first women's, action figure they're putting out. Forget Nyla Rose. Forget your first champion, Riho. Forget your current champion, Hikaru Shida. But it's also going to be order now because it's going to be a limited edition, the one they actually want to go up in value. She's done nothing in the ring. She built a stable around two women that can actually wrestle and then botched that. And then she's been face heel in therapy, face heel. She is on this show more than the people I actually want to see.
You know what she's doing? She's being a very nice wife behind the scenes, behind closed doors. That's why she has a damn
But that's the
doll.
problem.
That's the sad part,
She's the supportive wife because she's the chief brandy officer. I mean, come on, guys. Really? You're trying to compete with a multi-billion-dollar corporation, and you're making fun of a position?
And you watched it Wednesday. Did you see her carrying her own action figure?
Yes!
That was
irritating. I didn't see that, but the way Jim Cornette explained it, she was holding on to it like she was trying to shove her finger up its butt. As she was carrying it out, I'm like, oh my god.
I'm not okay.
Wrong.
But I want to take that action figure moment to be serious for a second. It's a vanity project. I'm never going to stop repeating it. You want to be on TV, and you come across as somebody who took an acting class, and you're doing it on national television. And by the way, Jim Cornette spoke on not only Brandy's new action figure, but on the phrase Chief Brandy Officer. It's cute. It's a play on words. But let me point something out. Regardless of what the better in-ring product is, Jim Cornette hit on it because he was in the offices. Yeah. Vince outlasts everyone. Not because he's always had the best in-ring talent, but because when it comes to being a business, when it comes to being a company that has a board of directors that is responsible for the financial aspects of the company, he picks executives who know what the hell they're doing. And whether or not Stephanie was given Chief Branding Officer because she's the daughter or not, Stephanie knows what the hell she's doing.
Stephanie went to school. People don't realize she was in school most of the time.
She knows what she's doing in a boardroom. But the problem is that, look, ECW is a nice little story. Oh, Bubba ran merch. Tommy ran merch. This guy was running ticket sales. But they were doing things because they didn't have any money. Tony Khan supposedly has his dad's checkbook. You can't go find someone who works for, I don't know, the Atlanta Braves or something. Anyone who is looking to maybe make a little extra coin and have them on your board of directors. The only board is literally Tony Khan, who by the way, we don't see him on TV, but he's mentioned every 5 minutes.
Or the only board he's like the table he's sitting on that's made from the board, or something like that. But
just Jesse, in charge of merch is one of the Buck's wives. She doesn't get merchandise. She doesn't understand what it means to sell. And again, people who are out there and saying, "Oh, it's just selling T-shirts." Merchandise is such a unique,
it's mostly promotion, it's
special thing in the wrestling business. And when you have someone that's never done it before, but again, this is going back to what you said about the pomp and circumstance. You guys have access to things that no other wrestling company that's gone up against Vince has ever had. You have a billionaire who is solely in your corner, who is the sole contributor, and you, for some strange reason, are sitting here and you're putting nobodies in charge. Yeah. I get that this is now all friends wrestling because they just hire a bunch of dudes. Not to mention the fact, if you look, Ring of Honor is about as desperate for money as anybody these days. Are you telling me, regardless of how much they are Ring of Honor and they love Ring of Honor, you don't think you couldn't toss $250,000 and get the Briscoes out of there and bring them into AEW and make them one of your top teams?
Okay,
the Briscoe brothers.
But you want to talk about a portion like they want to bring all their friends in. No promotion or running around, but first wrestling in the cities. Eric Cannon, he has his friends, people that he knows that he associates. And they're on that show, plus other people, but they do it the right way.
But the thing about it is that first wrestling is a promotion that, and again, I get you have to put the indie stuff in because that's how you sell tickets. Mm-hmm. Yeah. But they present themselves as serious. This is the one thing I want to bring up to Jesse, and I apologize that I interrupted the women's division thing, but it's just, why, Jesse? Please answer my question. This is not a rhetorical question. Why does everything have to be tongue-in-cheek, winky-wink at the camera? Why does an air of comedy have to be in everything they do?
As far as, like, their stories? So
everything! Lance Archer has been made into a freak, and not in a good way.
Actually, to be honest, I disagree. I actually like the Lance... The only thing I don't like about the Lance Archer thing is we haven't seen him much since he lost to Cody. So, in a sense... You buried him.
Well, you're burying him by putting him in the ring with Sonny Kiss and Joey Janela, and he can't beat them in less than 3. He couldn't beat Marco Stunt in 45 seconds. Marco Stunt should have literally been, Marco Stunt tries for some bad punches, Lance Archer stands there, looks down and says, "Really? Am I doing this?" And then pick him up and drop him.
I mean, and their source of entertainment as far as booking is definitely, if you're not used to it, you're not going to like it. Because in those matches... I mean, he's killing those people, but he's doing it for like 10 minutes. So the problem is you're getting bored.
I'm bored after 5.
Exactly. And that's why Vince has always understood. And hell, I'll give Eric Bischoff credit. He used to understand back in the day, like, listen, if we're going to do a squash match, you get a little bit of offense, and then my guy's going to kill you, and it's done in 3 minutes.
But again, this goes back to. You're trying to build a top heel. You like what they've done with Lance Archer, but I'm sitting here looking at myself and saying, okay, hold on. Lance Archer versus Cody. Lance Archer apparently needs a hand of God to beat Cody Rhodes.
But it's Cody Rhodes. I know, whatever.
We'll get to that in a second. But
I was gonna, I know. Actually, I hate to cut you off here, but to be fair,
I'll cut him off.
Cody is not doing anything that Triple H did not do in 2004, 2005, and 2006 with the reign of terror. Like I think sometimes people kind of forget that really long championship reign where it was like, all right, this is the right time to lose, like to Booker T, because you got a perfect baby face. Oh, he won at WrestleMania. What? Oh, okay. You know what? They've built a really good baby face here in Rob Van Dam. This guy. Oh, he beat him in like 5 minutes.
Now,
what the hell?
Now, I'm not gonna forgive Triple H for
the reign of terror was pretty bad. But I will say this: if what I have noticed in the last couple of weeks, but it's been inconsistent. Is they were starting to kind of show almost a small heel turn for Cody now with this, because there has been some backlash.
They're still doing it.
But for me, the story has been unfortunately a bit inconsistent. So last week,
but it's been inconsistent because okay, you just said the reign of terror.
Yeah,
they built up Booker T, they built up Rob Van Dam, and yes, the squash may have been bad.
Yeah,
that might have killed the momentum, but there's no momentum. He's got Sonny Kiss one week, and then it's some dude named Warhorse who, just because he has a bunch of Twitter followers, they think he deserves a match on national television.
Yeah, that was insane.
And by the way, nothing against Warhorse. Okay?
I like his new nickname, Warwhore. Oh, Jim said that one. I got to give that one to Jim, but yeah, I called him a whore. I'm like,
I thought it was
what?
I mean, listen, if they're gonna
Warhorse, I'm like, I called him a whore. So
they're gonna pay you $6 figures a show for one match.
I'm not, but no, Warhorse was built up. Even Cody gave him a few shout-outs on Twitter. Yeah. And nothing against Warhorse. You've done more in this business than I ever have, but you did not look ready for primetime television.
No.
And now, wait, okay, so hold on a second. We went from Sonny Kiss to Warhorse, couple other in-betweeners, and now out of nowhere, you get Scorpio Sky, who I actually want to see, but why is it, boom, Scorpio Sky gets a title shot, and now next week it's going to be Cody against God knows who. Scorpio Sky deserved at least a 3-week build. Get a number out of it.
Like what they should have done.
Scorpio Sky can work.
Scorpio Sky should have been his first build to a pay-per-view TNT match since Lance Archer.
Yes.
Instead, that one actually really pissed me off this past Wednesday, because I agree. I'm like, okay, well,
all three
Scorpio
guys.
Sky has been built incredibly well.
All
People
three
really
guys
like
in
him.
SCU, they can work.
They're so good.
They're so
you're talking
good.
about two
Frankie
future Hall of
Kazarian,
Famers, and
Christopher Daniels, and Scorpio Sky, who a lot of people may not know from TV days because he wasn't there.
Yeah.
You know, SCU's more of an indie thing they've been doing since they've been off TV. But Scorpio Sky can work. Scorpio Sky might be a guy who does a lot of flips and kicks and all that stuff, but you watch him go and you're like, okay, he gets it.
He also can tell a story in the ring
exactly.
nowadays. So, he's gotten so.
But why is that
good.
a 1 week build?
And
that didn't make sense to me.
They failed telling that story. Cody was at fault.
Well, but there's no story to tell.
No, it's great, but
there's no story. You can't be AJ Styles and Daniel Bryan with a weak build.
No.
AJ Styles and Daniel Bryan both have 20 plus years in this business. The story wrote itself. Yeah. Scorpio Sky and Cody have no history.
That's true.
Yeah, you know. But when they do a superplex off the top rope
directly into a
no, they did on their match. They dropped it in the middle of the ring and they did a pin with it. They didn't sell. Either one of them did not sell.
They were up with
jumped right at. I'm like
7 seconds after that superplex, and then there was a misfall.
This
back up.
superplex have destroyed the rings. Well, it helps, with Big Show and Brock. It has destroyed the ring, and people lay there. You take it.
You can break a rib on that move.
Yeah. Cody knows better than that.
But see, this is my problem.
Yeah,
Cody and Jericho are guilty of, for some strange reason, they came in and they wanted to be taken seriously. And they were great the first couple of months. Their segment together, although I still don't like the whole you can't wrestle for the world title after 1 month on television, but you'll talk about that later. But Jesse, defend the fact that these two guys should be running the locker room as veterans who have been... Jericho beat The Rock and Stone Cold in the same night, and regardless of if you think he should have, he did. But at the end of the day, that guy is now getting beat by Orange frickin' Cassidy.
I can the one thing I can defend on that, because there's a lot of things from Jericho and I almost said TNA. You see how that happened?
Yeah.
The one thing in Jericho
it's
and
TNA with a budget.
with a very huge budget.
Yes, with a bigger budget.
The one thing with Jericho and AEW, I have not liked. I agreed. I was half and half on him being the first champ, but I'm like, I get it. You need to build some name recognition.
But
for
it
your
also
brand.
helps, and we'll get into this in a second. It helps that people know who he is
Yes.
outside of wrestling.
Well, plus before that he just went to New Japan and beat one of their biggest stars in Tetsuya Naito. So
Did he beat Naito?
Yeah, he beat Naito
Yeah,
for the
he beat him.
Intercontinental.
Okay,
He beat Naito. He
Yeah.
beat who was the other guy he beat over besides Kenny Omega?
Was it Tanahashi he went up
I
against?
think it was Tanahashi he beat as well. Yeah,
Right.
I could be
Or am I thinking
wrong.
of
It's
Jay
been a while
White?
because it was last
Was it
year.
Evil? No, it was Evil.
It was Evil.
Evil,
Yes,
yes, it was.
Yes.
It was Evil. Who's their current world champion?
And the Intercontinental title.
Yeah.
champion.
So, what I didn't like for a while is when he lost the title. Jericho, you know better than this. Don't keep calling yourself the champion and trying to sell the world champion thing. You're clearly not the champion anymore. Like there's a reason. Like,
But I mean, at the same time, do you not think after watching him for years, I mean, do you think he's even trying? Do you think he even cares? He's getting paid a ton of money to work one night
I'll
a week.
be honest. I know he doesn't. Like this week. So they just Fozzy did a show, no
In
mask,
South Dakota.
nothing,
Oh,
in South
God, yes,
Dakota,
yes.
and then he went and flew to do live Dynamite. There's no
I
way in hell they
understand.
tested him.
No.
So that's how I know he
In-
only half cares at this.
In
juncture
my
of his career.
opinion, based on what Taz said about WWE and their shoddy shop, they have no choice but to be very strict on regulations during the pandemic. But here's the deal: even if they tested him, how do you not look at that and say to yourself, we can live without Chris Jericho for 2 weeks?
Yeah.
Chris, come
That would've
home,
been
go to your home in Atlanta, spend 2 weeks there. We'll get you tested twice. If you're clear both times, then come back.
Especially after living without your world champion for 2 weeks, because he had to sit 2 weeks separate from his own wife in his own home.
Yes.
And you didn't have him for 2 weeks. I wholeheartedly agree. Now, the thing about Jericho and Orange Cassidy, you know how you talk about story? Well, there's actually a story there. It's actually been quite fun.
But the problem is that, again, you bring... And, okay, this is the danger of where we're at.
Orange
right
Cassidy's character, what I've seen recently, especially
growing. I'll give him
it's
that.
growing finally, because
Yes.
for a minute I'm like, okay, this is
More
this
than
is starting
fungus,
to get
you know, it
now.
needs
But
to
if
grow
it's growing,
faster.
stop putting your hands in your pockets.
Yeah.
Stop it.
And-
Why are we still doing that mid-match after you just had a debate where you actually cut a halfway decent promo?
Yeah, and the truth is, the worst truth is right now the character has to grow, it has to evolve, because without fans there, the character almost barely works.
Maybe he's addicted to pocket pool.
I don't know.
I don't know either. But
But
yeah.
at least there's a story there where, like,
Which is fair.
now in the 3 weeks, Brody Lee's going, or actually next Saturday on Dynamite, and they're going to lose the ratings probably.
They've been
because-
moved due to the NBA playoffs.
By the way, we
That's
talked
a lot
about
better
that
to
2
watch.
weeks ago.
But to be
how-
fair, WWE used to get moved for a dog show, so I
yeah.
I'd rather watch basketball.
yeah.
I'd rather
But
watch
okay,
the dog
okay,
show.
but okay, Jesse, go ahead and finish your thought.
So-
because, yeah, there's some new news that I don't
Yeah.
know if you two have heard.
So Brody
Oh, yeah.
Lee is supposed to face him next week. Now,
Is that next week?
That's next
Is
Saturday.
next week all out?
No, next week is just a Dynamite show.
Okay.
They're actually taping Dynamite the next couple of weeks because All Out is, I think, in 3 weeks on Saturday. or
Okay.
something
Okay.
like
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think you're just gonna
I
do
don't
my.
understand why they can't do live shows. If they've said they've been so good, why can't they do live shows?
I think they're taping the next 3 because I think the next 2 weeks for sure the NBA will be on TNT on Wednesday.
Yeah.
So
Yes,
they're just trying to make sure that they have a show to put out.
And I'm not
There's
even
a chance that on the West Coast people will still be able to see it that Wednesday night.
I'm going to be
so.
interested to see, and I'm not giving NXT a victory in the ratings war because it's obvious. I mean,
Yeah.
it's hard to lose when no one else shows up. But I'm going to be interested to see if the ratings are consistent for NXT.
That has been a huge question.
Or
like,
if they change with AEW not being there. And the other thing about it is, for me, is that will AEW lose ratings in the sense that are they going to go to NXT for a week or two and then they're going to watch it and say this is better? And again, okay, recently I've had a lot of internet hate saying that I hate AEW. Let me be very clear. Jesse brought it up during my review. I didn't bring this up. Nobody was hotter on AEW. on AEW other than me when it was first announced, and
Yeah.
Jesse even remembers being a little bit skeptical about it. But I'm not going to let you walk away from what is basically just bad comedy wrestling, and I'm not going to sit there and say it's good when I don't think it's good. I watch a lot of indie matches that are in a lot, but here's the deal: Darren Corbin is not winking at the audience saying, "I'm okay, guys." Darren Corbin is doing everything he can to sell the fact that he just got poked in the eye. Maybe a little too much to his detriment, but he's still trying to sell.
Yeah.
But anyway, but okay, here's my thing is, okay, so the news that I wanted to get to. Mm-hmm. So Kevin Reilly was an executive at TNT.
Okay.
He not only greenlit AEW to be put on the airwave, but he's the one who signed them to the 4, and now we found out 5th-year option extension. Yeah. He's no longer at TNT. He is out at TNT. Now, at this point, you've had Eric Bischoff on. There's a shakeup at TNT. Am I watching a parody of 1999-2000 WCW?
Here's why I don't think so.
By the way, more news, by the way. Yeah. According to what was reported, Tony Khan, that was his guy.
It was, yes.
Was Kevin Reilly. But here's the deal. Kevin Reilly was actually unaware that Turner Broadcasting had another network that was Vince's biggest competition 20 years ago. He didn't even know that they had a wrestling company on 20 years ago. But it's just, okay, literally I'm asking, at this point, are they screwing with me? Have they... Okay, so one of the biggest things that's going on in TV right now is limited series. Yeah. They're not trying to get 6 episodes a season. They're just saying, they're like, hey, give me 6 episodes, we'll show it for 6 weeks, and then we'll just go away. Yeah. Are they just doing a limited series of the rise and fall of WCW and just making fun of it in a Saturday Night Live special?
No.
Because so far they're following the timeline. Eric Bischoff shows up, and then all of a sudden you lose the only executive that cared about you.
Well, here's the good thing: Eric Bischoff isn't staying with AEW. Also, the contract that AEW has with TNT. They're paying. I mean, we just talked about
$45 million a year.
They're paying them nothing.
But
nothing.
But now hold on. WCW was actually making money.
Well, yeah.
But remember, TV executives. A lot of them have 2 issues when it comes to wrestling. Number 1, the only wrestling that they probably know is Vince. Yeah. And it's probably from 20 years ago when guys like The Rock and Stone Cold were the hottest thing going. And number 2. Some of them just don't like wrestling. Yeah, and they'll pull wrestling just because they don't want it. WCW was still making money when WCW executives, Turner executives, started to kill it. Yeah. They were actually still getting good TV ratings.
Even though the booking was horrendous at that point.
Right. But my point is this, is that all of you people out there who call me a hater, this is a fact, and I'm going to quote Jim Cornette. When you lose the only TV executive that liked you, that's bad for you. That's a fact. That's not hyperbole.
Oh, I listened, and he was talking about that too. And this is from Jim. I mean, and he knows what he's talking about. He had his Mid-South. He wanted to be on a show.
Smoky Mountain.
Smoky Mountain, and he wanted to put on a TV station. Well, they had WCW on there too.
Listen, okay, so Jesse, what he's talking about is that... So the station was in Virginia, I believe.
Yeah.
Something like that, yes.
And they were going to put WCW on at noon on a Saturday, like they always do.
It has been planned that, yeah. And then they're doing
and then Smoky Mountain at 1. Be on at 1. And then, and this is how back in the day it was, they were going to see who wrote in, who called and said, I prefer one to the other. The ratio was 2-1 Smoky Mountain Wrestling. But what show got kept on the network? WCW. So what Leroy's trying to get at is TV executives have all the power. They can do what they want when they want, but this is my point, is that there have been wrestling companies in the past, they were paying for the TV time. Yeah. And they still got canceled. Yes, it's incredibly cheap. Yes, it's incredibly nothing. But what if TNT makes an original series that they want to have at 7 o'clock? Next thing you know, Dynamite's on at 8, then they're on at 9, then they're on at 10, then you're the 11 o'clock show and they've cut you to an hour and you have to cut it down to, what am I going to do in an hour of TV? I can't show a 20-minute wrestling match because I only have 60 minutes of TV.
I hate to make this joke since I was the skeptical one when they accepted, but I guess they're lucky they have YouTube then, huh?
Well, I guess so. Well, and...
but I will say this. This is why I don't think it'll happen. apparently Ted Turner actually does kind of like the promotion. I think him and some of that family still wants to get back at Vince. And then, so my thought is, and I have no facts to back this up, but I would think they would consider a move to TBS if they had to, because they have no major shows on TBS.
Well, but here's the deal. Remember, Ted liked WCW.
Yes, he did.
Ted liked Eric.
He got outvoted though.
But that's the problem, is that Ted might be a billionaire and his name's on the building, but Ted isn't Vince. Again, this goes back to my thing about Vince winning in the boardroom, not in the wrestling ring. Vince McMahon is not working for a TV. Vince McMahon is not owning a TV station and then producing on. Vince McMahon is in charge. Yeah. Vince McMahon is in charge of creative. He's in charge of everything. That's why you can hate what he does, but he's still the man in charge. What I'm trying to get... The point is that Vince is not going to get outvoted on wrestling things. You just said it yourself. Ted Turner got outvoted because Ted was in charge of everything, but he got further and further from the actual programming. But here's the thing. Vince will never be away from programming because he is the programming. So while you sit there and say Ted wants to get back at Vince... Ted may not have a choice. And remember, Ted is still a businessman, and as much as he loved Eric, as much as he loved WCW, and as much as he loved the wrestling business, when you're a billionaire, money talks.
I will say this, though. Like we were just talking about with NXT the next couple of weeks.
Yeah.
There's a thought that, if they can hit, almost close to Raw numbers, 1.2 million, that Vince is actually, I think this is kind of just rumor, that Vince said that he might be interested in moving it to its own thing on Thursday night or something like that.
I think...
Because then at that point he's going to be like, well, I don't have to worry about so-called taking away viewers from them.
Well, the other thing about it is that I think...
Because then USA has to pay him more money.
Right,
yeah, there's more money coming in there.
Well, because here... But okay, and here's my point. USA doesn't do sports very often. Mark said it on the show. The only thing keeping USA alive right now is anything involving wrestling.
Yeah.
Yep. But my point is that Turner
long movie marathons on the weekend.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh yes.
Turner Broadcasting has, as we've pointed out, the NBA.
Yep.
They've got a version of Law and Order. I don't think it's SVU, but they have a version of.
They actually have all of the old episodes.
Oh, they do. Okay, yeah. So, but the thing is that TNT also is producing newer dramas, other things going on. USA is not coming out with too many new things that are going to knock Raw off its pedestal.
No.
So that's my point, is that USA is beholden to Vince because he's getting like $200+ million a year to do this show.
So, yeah, something like
that. But now you have a situation where if a TV executive that doesn't like wrestling walks in and pitches a new pilot to Ted may have no choice but to. And here's the thing. Okay. I will give you this. I don't think they're gonna just be off the air done.
It'll be a slow burn. You'll start to notice.
But that's my point. Is all of a sudden you go from Wednesday. Now you're still on Wednesday, but you're at 11 o'clock. 18 to 49-year-olds should be in bed by 11 o'clock. I'm sorry, you should be.
Why?
You're old. Get over it.
Yeah. Anyway, I need my beauty rest.
Anyway, but then all of a sudden you're on Thursday morning at 4 a.m. Nobody's watching, or you're on Saturday at 9 a.m. and they hope to gain some followers there. The fact is that I don't wish them out of business. I want every wrestling company to have some form of TV.
Yeah.
I want a channel where every hour or 2 hour slot is a different company. That's what I want.
Yeah.
That would be fun.
But
it's
we
not
saw
happen.
it in Impact. They got booted off Spike TV for their own mistakes.
Yeah.
They got sent to was it Travel Channel or Destination America?
Destination America
like
first.
But then Destination America ousted them a lot faster than I thought. Then they ended up on Pop TV, which, by the way, for those of you that don't know, the reason why Pop TV during the day showed nothing but old reruns of soap operas was because they were recently rebranded from the TV Guide channel. They were the channel that literally For those of you out there listening who may not know, back when Leroy was a small infant child back in the 80s, and by 80s I mean the 1880s, Leroy would go to this channel And it would go up continuously of all the channels that were.
But
available.
I went to my friend's house because I didn't have that. I was out in the country.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
But basically, and by the way, sad thing. If you were looking for channel 40 and you missed channel 40 and you saw channel 41, you had to wait for the thing to start back up again and go from channel 1 to channel 40
God,
again.
that sucked.
But here's the thing. Nobody was watching on Pop TV.
No.
Then they got boosted off at that. Then they ran their own internet thing for a while. Then they got on Twitch. Then they got knocked off that. Then Access TV wanted them back because they were on Access TV for a while, somewhere in between there. And then Access TV brought them back on. But the thing about it is that they've endured, and I don't know how. And someday we're going to actually chronicle the life and death of TNA to Impact Wrestling. But here's the deal. You go from TNT, but then you go to TBS. But TBS is known for comedy. Now you're just in a hole. You can't. TNT is the serious side of Turner Broadcast.
Absolutely.
TBS is the comedy side. But now, your comedy, I hate to say it, people don't take comedy as seriously as they do drama.
True.
People can say WWE is just bad comedy, but they're being presented on a night when you're supposed to be seeing dramas in prime time. So now, you're on a station that kept the Big Bang Theory alive for 20 years. So the fact of the matter is that. Okay, so from TBS, then where do they go? Hallmark Channel?
That might work.
They're going to be in the middle of the Christmas movie marathon? Like all I'm saying here, Jesse, is yes, it's incredibly cheap for them to produce. Yes, they're paying nothing. But the problem is that here's the deal. Tony, you lost your guy. You lost your guy who you can call up if you have an issue. You lost your guy who might give you more money when the 4 years are up. You lost the only contact you had at Turner Broadcasting, and I don't think Ted is at the point in his life where he's going to buy out AEW and go in direct competition. He's letting he's letting Shad Khan own the damn thing.
Yeah.
But my point is this, is that recently they've had Cody, who I think is getting worse and worse because I think Cody is now falling into what FTR fell into, which is we're all just one of the boys. Undertaker was never one of the boys. Steve Austin was never one of the boys. The Shield were never one of the boys. They came in, they were red hot, no one liked them, but they were still the boys.
Yeah.
They weren't the boys.
Yeah.
The Shield were the guys who were pushing the ratings. But my whole thing is yes, I will allow crowds to come back. I will allow the talent to come from overseas to come back in. But by the way, WWE handled a lot of their speak out movement issues very quietly, very reserved. AEW had to cut 3 people, man.
Jimmy
Havoc's gone. A couple of females are gone.
Yep.
One of them was the woman.
Well, Bea Priestley wasn't gonna come back.
No,
anyway,
God,
because
no.
she lives in the UK
Well, but
with
she
her
was
boyfriend,
the one.
Will Ospreay.
Well, but she was the one that helped Ospreay keep a woman blackballed.
Yeah. I heard
And the
about
company
that.
admitted that Ospreay told them don't book her.
Yeah.
So all I'm saying is that that's staying, and again, this is where Vince gets a pass a lot of the ways, because Vince handles things like a businessman. Because see, in the business world, executives are like, well, you cut somebody. Okay, we don't care the reason. There's a replacement. That's all we care about.
Yes,
we care
thank you, and good luck in your future endeavors.
We care that the job vacancy's been filled. That's all we care about.
Yeah.
But the problem is that the vacancies in AEW, Spot Monkey Wrestling, it is the executive vice presidents are the talent. They're firing their friends, and those spots are not being filled, and those spots are very glaring because they're all over the internet. Vince's thing is like, oh, we cut somebody. No, and by the way, they don't say anything until the non-compete clause is over. So it's 3 months later. No one gives a damn about you 3 months later. You're done with. No one cares. Stick a fork in you. You're done.
Yeah.
Go talk shit about Vince. He ain't gonna care 90 days after you've been fired.
Yeah.
But the thing about it is that I don't think AEW has a no-compete clause, and I'm actually very happy that the Good Brothers did not go to AEW. Because the fact of the matter is that I don't know where they would fit in that tag team division because they're bigger than everyone else in that tag team division. They're a hell of a lot more talented than anybody in that tag team division outside of FTR.
Well, I'll say this: that the tag team division actually might be the best division in AEW.
How did Tag Team Appreciation Night go?
I actually thought it went pretty good.
You had one match!
2 matches.
For Tag Team Appreciation Night, you had 2 matches that were crap.
Well, let's be honest. Tag Team Appreciation Night was
Okay.
was definitely more about like the angle with FTR, the Young Bucks,
who finally did what they should have done.
been
from
heel the whole
get-go.
damn time. Yeah.
And by the way, I recently just learned, and this is the funniest thing I've heard. So FTR, everyone knows that by this point, got a lot of heat from the locker room that they went on Jim's podcast, right? Because Jim hates them so much. Apparently, MJF was mad at FTR for going on the Jim Cornette podcast. MJF is the only person that actually gets any praise from Jim Cornette.
I think he might have just been a character. MJF is one of the last wrestlers who sticks to kayfabe at all times.
Well, when FTR said it, they admitted MJF wasn't too happy about it, and FTR has no problem breaking. Yeah.
After hearing about this and looking a little bit their debacle when they were all in the ring, and
Tully was the only one that cut a good promo.
And it's like FTR. The one of them said hi to his wife, and then they go and spinebuster one of the why. The crap they did in there.
I love the Rock and Roll Express. I was ready to pay money.
There was no point to that. I'd love to see them.
But look, you are once again, and sadly now it's not even Vince's old guys. They're trying to live off.
This is the old guys.
They're trying to live off anyone that's had any wrestling fame anywhere in this business. But the thing about it is that I want to go a couple of weeks. Hear me out before you respond, boys.
Yeah.
Couple of weeks. If you've got Tully and Arn, don't give them a mic. Two of the best talkers in the business, but don't let them talk. Let them be background. Let them be nothing on the show. And you're saying to me, well, okay, you want them this. I want you to take the 86, now probably 83, 84.
Yeah.
I want you to take the 80-some wrestlers that you have, and you got a decent amount of them still, even with the pandemic, you got a decent amount of them that are still in the audience. And by the way, why are they in gear during the audience?
That is weird.
No. That was a rhetorical question. I know why. It's because they're doing all these tapings back to back, but for God's sakes, nobody is sitting there saying, all right, pause. We're going to wait 20 minutes before we start up the next taping. Go change. Yeah. Go put on your street clothes. You're not here to compete anymore. You look like you just got out of the ring because technically, in real life, you did. But it's just Jesse, I want this company to be better. I want it to work. But at this point, how does anybody not believe that the Young Bucks sold a bill of goods to Tony Khan, and they're just bilking them for money? They're getting paid so much. They work one night a week, and they're getting paid for it like they're working 60 days in the road. 60,000 days in the road.
I will say this, because Shad Khan isn't a $30 billion heir without making great business decisions. He will, Tony has already said, if things go rough, my dad will probably. So if things go really
south, about wrestling than he does.
But on the business side, he'll be like, either buck it up or I'm pulling the plug. You already talked about this 2 weeks ago, where Shad, trust me, Shad would be like, you know what? We had a nice 2-year run. You guys aren't getting it done. I'm pulling the plug on this thing.
It's daddy's money. Tony Khan walks around, and by the way, I'm sorry,
because he's not going to make as much this year off of the NFL. So
let me point this out. Okay, okay, Leroy, you are friends with our boss at work. I'm not going to bring up a name right now. I'm not going to do that, okay?
Yes.
You're friends with him on Facebook. You're okay.
No, I'm not.
You're not?
No.
Okay, some of our coworkers are.
Yeah.
But I am not, and it's nothing against him. But that is a personal decision that I've made to where I'm not mixing that. I'm not okay, and again, this is a personal preference. I'm not saying this is how the world should work. But my way tends to stop you from having awkward business decisions. But Tony Khan does not need to be out there giving a stunner to someone.
No, absolutely not.
Because all it does is prove that you're one. Now, here's the deal. Vince, in a lot of ways, I think it's obvious he's always kind of wanted to be one of the guys. He's kind of wanted to be considered a wrestler, despite the fact he's never cared about wrestling. It's an entertainment thing to him. But Vince has always been very good at separating work from personal. Mm-hmm. Undertaker changed, but that's a different story. We all saw the documentary. We all know why. Vince gets close to guys when they get older, when their mark on the business is different. And yes, you can use Shawn Michaels as an example, but Shawn Michaels, regardless of how Shawn's attitude and drug problem was, he was still one of the greatest in-ring performers of all time.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, naturally gifted to do it, no doubt there. But my thing about this is that how is Tony Khan not looked at as the biggest money mark in the history of wrestling, in the sense that he's just trying to play along? And by the way, according to all reports, this is the type of wrestling he likes.
Yeah,
It's this comedy, gymnastics routine stuff where, I'm sorry, Allison, my girlfriend, is not a trained wrestling fan. She just got into it the last couple of years. But she's watching Dynamite and she's like, well, that guy's pretty much just waiting for something to happen. And I'm like, okay, so you get this. Imagine what a 20-year veteran fan looks at it and says.
Okay, you know, we talked about ratings, and Jim talked about it too. And he was comparing between NXT, his podcast, and AEW.
And by the way, for those of you out there who are like, why are you bringing up another podcast? Information comes out of podcasts these days. Everyone references everyone else's podcast.
I will reference Jim Cornette all the time. He knows what he's talking about. He did that. Okay. He top 3 of the 3 companies. Okay. NXT is number 3 in viewers.
Yes.
Okay. Jim's podcast is number 2. AEW is number 1.
But only by about 28,000 total views between between television and Dark, and then Jim put Jim did not take like the corny clips views.
He just did his
the full runs of the drive-through
and the full on YouTube, and that's it.
Okay.
He took those views mixed with the podcast views on the podcast.
Very impressed with that. It's like,
but the thing about it is that how is that not an indictment on the fact that you have a national television brand for 2 hours a week every week, and you're barely beating a podcast of somebody that supposedly is old and over the hill.
And Chris Jericho.
And by the way, before we go on, by the way, Jim Cornette, if you go back and you consistently look at his official YouTube channel, not his podcast, the YouTube channel, he's gaining over 1,000 extra subscribers a week. Literally a week at this point.
Yeah.
When I started listening to The Experience consistently and found out it was on YouTube, he was at like 129,000. They're up to 152,000.
Oh, wow.
And it hasn't been that long.
No.
But it's just Jesse. Look, there are things I like.
Yeah.
But 95% of this show makes me think to myself, look, if I'm not a mark, if I'm not somebody that loves the crazy comedy stuff every night, then obviously I'm going to turn to NXT, because even though, yes, NXT does a lot of the same similar stuff, it's at least presented differently. Why do you think the height thing never came up when he was facing Keith Lee? Why do you think Adam Cole was considered a legit threat to Keith Lee? Because Adam Cole was built as a star.
Yeah, he was built basically off of his wrestling and his microphone experience.
But then let's turn around and let's look at AEW and a similar thing. You're trying to tell me that Sonny Kiss is a legitimate threat to Cody Rhodes' championship, A, with no build-up, and B, I ain't seen Sonny Kiss on this damn thing. I saw Sonny Kiss more on Lucha Underground.
Here's the point. Remember, last time we talked, I said the biggest problem that they have is that they try to build these guys.
But they're not building them.
Well, they try to build them on Dark.
Nothing.
It's not even on Dark. No. Here's the problem. Forget Dark for like 2 seconds. What they're doing is they are assuming that every single one of the people who are a casual viewer, forget the people that are already watching. Mm-hmm. Look. The 700,000 people that already watch AEW, they're going to watch no matter who you put on there. Yeah. Because they know the internet people. But they're assuming that me, the casual guy, has been on the internet for 4 straight years, and I know all these guys. I saw Joey Janela's name like 6 times until he got on Dynamite.
I've seen it more, but it's not all. It's all bad.
Right.
It was
and
all
then
bad.
The thing about it, and this I think is the funniest, and I know Zach is like that. Jericho's biggest competition right now, Jim Cornette. Telling Jim Cornette, you cannot watch our show anymore. So he did. He made sure he closed the blinds, made it real dark. And when he said, I was laughing my ass off when he said that.
Jesse, the problem with me is that Chris is just trying to be one of the boys. Cody's trying to be one of the boys. The Young Bucks are the boys, and sadly they're idiots at what they do. And at the end of the day, it's like, and by the way, for those of you out there, I will admit to this 1,000 more times. My last profile picture on my damn Facebook is me and the Young Bucks. And I'm okay with that, because I paid $30 for the damn thing, and I was into the Young Bucks for a little bit while they were big in Japan, which, by the way, we found out that New Japan never gave a shit about the Young Bucks. They just cared about Kenny. They actually just...
Because, like I said before, Kenny is the better wrestler.
Well, they actually just looked at it as, okay, these guys are a package with Kenny, so we'll just let them go. But my whole thing about this is that these guys, why... Like, but at this point... they're taking the piss out of the wrestling business. They're actually trying to say, we don't get this, so here's what we're doing. But what they're doing, and by the way, I hate to point this out, but like I just pointed out, am I watching WCW Part 2? Here's another thing that I think is oddly, weirdly there. And I talked about this during my review. Mm-hmm. I think I did. They were in Ring of Honor.
Yes, they were.
They helped sell out the first ever Ring of Honor mixed with New Japan. Mm-hmm. The first ever wrestling show in Madison Square Garden.
That was not WWE.
In how many years?
Like 50
that
years.
was WWE.
Yeah.
And Madison Square Garden said, okay, you sold the tickets, let's see what you got. But then they walked away from it to go to AEW. They didn't even make the freaking date. They didn't even keep their commitment. And by the way, you killed. I don't care. To the young bucks out there, if you ever hear this, please hit me up. I ain't got Twitter, but I'll give you my damn phone number if I want to talk to you.
I'll give him my Twitter.
You killed any other opportunity that any company will ever have to get in Madison Square Garden. I know New Japan is back in Madison Square Garden, but New Japan can at least have this nice library and these big stars that will sell tickets. Ring of Honor doesn't have that anymore. Ring of Honor has always been, once a guy gets big, he's out and he leaves. Yeah. That's Ring of Honor. They're basically a very successful developmental program. Yeah. They were developmental for TNA for a bunch of years. Yes, they were. but it's just, you the Young Bucks, said thank you to your fans. We were the first guys to make $1 million without any major wrestling company help. You're not wrestlers. You fit in with Vince more than you think. You're entertainers. Because what you're doing is A, not wrestling, B, you have no idea how to book it, and C, you're killing the wrestling business so much that here's the deal. You want to tell me that other freaking television networks are looking at that and saying, let's go get First Wrestling. Not that First Wrestling is bad, but First Wrestling is not WWE. First Wrestling is not going to get a TV contract because the Bucks are fucking it up. Because every week
That's the one.
because every week they are putting out more and more comedy bullshit. And by the way, they were good for like 3 months. They were somewhat serious. They weren't putting Janela on TV. They weren't putting, and again, Sonny Kiss, this is not because of your sexual orientation. It's not because you're black. It's because I don't...
You don't get the character? It's a weird character.
No. The character's fine.
Yeah.
But it's because you have not been presented as a star.
That's true.
These television executives look at 50 years worth of television and say, well, to be honest, the landscape really hasn't changed. The same shows work on the right network. How I Met Your Mother was Friends 10 years later, and it was highly successful for 9 seasons.
Yes, it was.
But the thing about it is that you go back to the drawing board, you try again, regardless of what you fans out there think, millennials, which I am one, the Generation X, Generation Y, Z, whatever, you guys are not changing the television landscape to the way that you think. And you know what, this is a bit off wrestling, but I'm going to bring it up here for a second. All the people that are mad right now at Dan Harmon for his bad comedy sketch that he did in 2009, and now they want Rick and Morty to get canceled. I hate to say this, but you go back to 2009, how many people are still outraged by that? I know it's a very touchy subject, but if the current landscape of child pedophilia is not currently in the news, does anybody care about Dan Harmon? And by the way, Dan Harmon... Yes, it was in poor taste, but it was just a bad sketch. Yeah. Forget the fact that it's a horrible subject matter. It's just a bad sketch. It wasn't good. Yeah. It was one of Dan Harmon's works. And here's the deal. If I was Dan Harmon, I'd want it buried, not because it was about child rape, but because it was just bad. It was a bad run by Dan Harmon.
Well, I saw your post on that, too. You know, it's like this and this and this. Like, okay, then you got to take out Family Guy. Yeah. Hey,
Herbert's been on the show since season 1.
Where's that paper boy?
South Park should.
Oh my
here's
God!
The deal. We need to bury every episode of South Park ever, if that's the case.
And the movie, as I said.
Oh, the movies.
Okay,
the movie set a world record for the most swear words and most racial slurs in a single
trying
movie.
To get a rated, and this I remember that they were trying to get rated R. Rating, and they started putting other stuff in because they said NC-17, and they called the movie Bigger, Longer, and Uncut. Wow. If that wasn't a reference, you're an idiot.
But again, the TV landscape is everyone is calling for Dan Harmon to get all this stuff canceled. Look, the landscape may have changed a little bit because of the news media, but remove Jeffrey Epstein's situation out of the media. Let's say there's no news at all. Does anybody go find Dan Harmon's old Daryl clip?
No.
No.
No one cares.
And here's the deal. That is an honest answer. You're not trying. And here's the deal. You guys are not trying to be people pleasers when you're answering this question. You're being honest. Even my girlfriend, who by the way has a media studies degree, so she studied how television and movies work. The landscape of 2009, in terms of humor, was a lot different than 2020.
Absolutely.
There is an actual, real correlation between the years going by from, I would say 2005 was the beginning, in my opinion, that was the groundswell, to now, 15 years later, we're just more sensitive as a society. I'm not saying people aren't getting smarter, but when you get smarter, for some strange reason, all of a sudden, you have to look back, and by the way, I have laughed at black jokes. I have laughed at Jew jokes. I have laughed at gay jokes. Because you know what? The way they were presented, they were funny.
Yeah.
And I also want to point something out. Anyone who sits up here and says that oh, I never did that. Here's the deal. I don't have the time nor the care to dig in your history, but I guarantee you shared a meme one time that was questionable. You watched Family Guy and you laughed one time. Everyone has seen an episode of South Park at least once or twice. So here's the deal. I don't sit here and claim to be someone who is quote unquote the perfect person. I admit to the crap that I do.
Yeah.
But that's my problem with the Bucks. They don't admit to anything they do wrong. They don't think anything that they can do is wrong. And going back to my thing about the TV execs, because I'm going to wrap it all together.
Yeah.
The landscape of TV doesn't change. Why is Rick and Morty going to stay on the air? Number one, Adult Swim. You think Rick and Morty is the worst thing we've ever heard Adult Swim? Super Jail killed more people in about 5 minutes than John Wick has killed in 3 movies.
And had some of the worst, like, if you want to talk about offensive comedy.
Aqua Teen Force, and too, I love that.
Hunger Force, but it's just okay.
Yeah.
And number two, Adult Swim did the only thing that I think everyone needs to do. They accepted that Dan was sincere in his apology. They know that Dan is actually not a pedophile.
Yeah.
And this goes back to my whole thing. And again, I'm not going to get political, but this is something that is going to make more sense to more casual viewers. Everyone's like, oh, you know. Someone said that Joe Biden, you know, all the tapes have come out about him being, you know, disrespectful to women in the workplace. First of all, I'm not defending Joe Biden, but that was sadly the environment we lived in America back when he was younger. That women were objectified. Sorry, that's how it was. History is history.
Yeah.
But here's the deal. Nothing came out about him physically touching them. Nothing came out about him putting his hands in places he shouldn't. Yeah. And even if it was like a cop on the butt or the leg, that's still not as bad as female sexual organ places.
Yeah.
Here's the deal. All the stuff that came out about Joe Biden proves one thing. He was a creep.
Yeah.
Did not prove he was a rapist. So you can't use the word rapist.
True.
Dan Harmon is not a pedophile. He just did some stupid shit that was a bad joke. This is literally the Sammy Guevara situation with what he said on a podcast. I don't think Sammy Guevara is an actual rapist, and I don't think he would actually walk up.
No, he just said something really, really stupid.
It was just stupid. He was a kid who did something beyond stupid. He deserved to be fined and sent home
and
for
they
it
sent
for
him
a
home
while.
for a couple weeks.
But here's the deal. The Bucks are exactly what they are. They are losers when it comes to trying to be serious.
Trying to be business, like overall bigger business people.
Yes, but
I'll say this so we can kind of wrap up AEW.
Yeah, we got to get some better stuff.
There has been some changes, but like I said before, they need to become more major. They just have to.
No,
and I do like the show most of the time.
They have to become less schizophrenic. You have to stop giving me a Cody Rhodes segment and an MJF segment that sounds like Lawler versus Dusty back in the day. You have to stop giving me that, and then all of a sudden, not even 2 minutes after MJF's out of the ring, it's Hokey Tokey Best Friends versus Bucks versus Butcher the Blade and the no longer there Bunny. You have to stop giving me a show that jumps left. Now, okay, NXT kind of did it with like Oney Lorcan versus Timothy Thatcher. That's not what NXT is really known for, but they're at least serious about Oney Lorcan versus Timothy Thatcher.
Yes, they are.
They're at least Timothy Thatcher's at least not coming off as a winky wink, ha ha character, nudge nudge.
Very serious.
Timothy Thatcher is, I'm gonna break your damn wrist.
Yeah. So yeah, like I said, it's about building consistency, getting Kenny Omega the hell off of the women's division, and
why can't Kenny just wrestle? In Japan?
By the way, he should be mostly just wrestling because he would be their biggest star and a reason for TNT to keep the show, but yes. I digress.
Yeah, no.
And they, like I said, and apparently there are some rumors, they have to see if, like, listen, you know, when you guys can get some of these guys back from the UK, Jay White, some of these guys, hey, Gato, can you lend us Jado? Like, we just need help writing. We just need it. We need to rebuild this relationship. They just need that consistency because if they can get that consistency back,
the problem is that and I actually thought about this after you said it during my review. Yes, they need to fix the relationship with New Japan. I don't think it's fixable. As long as the Bucks and Kenny work for Tony, he's never gonna get.
I think Kenny can. I think Kenny can make it right.
They tried to get Kenny banned from Japan.
I know,
he lives there.
I think Kenny can make it right though. He just has to see what they want him to do, and he can, because he's still a huge megastar over there. Like, and I get why they were pissed, but he's a megastar over there.
No. This is business. You'll work with anybody at any given point.
Yeah.
Like I've said on the show, if you put me in charge of booking an AEW, I won't fire Joey Janela, but he ain't getting a win. Yeah. He'll win once.
I'll keep him on dark for a while.
Not even on TV.
No. I'll put him on TV. But guess what, Joey? You're losing in 2.5 minutes. So get whatever you can in 2.5 minutes. Because if you go longer, then I'm not putting you on TV. But that's my point, is that I don't know if they can fix what happened with Japan.
Time will tell. Apparently, there's some rumors that they have been talking.
Because remember, New Japan got screwed over in that Madison Square Garden incident.
Not only that, but they also
alone,
with Kenny, with the way Kenny handled his leaving. Because it was funny, because the whole thing, and we'll get off of the subject after this. It's fine. He was because remember there was a rumor like, hey, I just talked to Paul or Triple H, as you guys all know him as.
Yeah.
And there was a chance because WWE threw monster ass money because Triple H knows I know how to use this guy. Vince sees how I use him in NXT. Yeah. Will be like, okay, well now people don't have to be on my ass about making another star. He's a star.
I hate to say it, as much as I try not to just be a repeat of the Jim Cornette experience. He'd get there, and they would tell him to stop doing 90% of what made him big in Japan. Because
here's the thing, I know Jim's not the fan of the knee slaps.
The biggest thing they would tell him is slow down. Kenny doesn't know how to slow down.
True.
That's Kenny's problem. But anyway, so anyway, we will actually because I think that this there's more layers to this. We'll get back to this on a future episode.
For sure.
Glad to have you on with that.
Of course.
But the thing is that
we'll do this every week for a while. They're loving him, and I'll keep doing them.
And by the way, a little disclaimer: no one on the show is saying that what Dan Harmon did was harmless. No one is saying that what Dan Harmon
horrendous.
But here's the deal: I am a second chance type person. I don't believe that people, unless there's a continuous history of it. Look, Dan Harmon made a terrible joke. My buddy Anthony, who hopefully will have on the show at some point, he's a stand-up comedian, and he said it himself on Facebook. I have told jokes that I thought were gonna kill. Nobody cared.
Yeah.
I've told jokes that I thought were like, why am I even putting this in the act? I gotta kill 2 minutes, and the people love them. He made a joke one time during a stand-up that about his girlfriend, and someone was like, I hope she's not here, and he was like, well, no, she's 15. You can't let a 15-year-old in a bar. And everyone laughed, and nobody thought he was a pedophile. It was a joke. The only thing... Dan Harmon falls in the category of this. If you're a comedian, just make sure you make fun of everybody. You will get a pass if you make fun of everybody. And that's why South Park is not in trouble. That's why Family... Now, yes, Family Guy's recasting Cleveland, but the voice actor himself made that decision. But here's the deal. Seth MacFarlane... There has not been a single celebrity that he's ever mentioned on the show that wasn't in a negative connotation.
Exactly.
He basically predicted the Kevin Spacey situation.
Yes, he did.
And South Park doesn't give a shit about anything.
No.
They have made fun of They had a Scientologist who was the voice of one of their most beloved characters, and they made an entire episode about Scientology.
Oh yeah.
They don't care.
No.
So here's the deal. We are not sitting here advocating for what Dan Harmon did was okay. It was a bad joke. It was a horrible, done thing. And yes, Dan Harmon's apologetic. But here's the deal, folks. I'm not having Dan Harmon removed from Adult Swim. I'm not calling for his entire career to be over.
And for everyone, Adult Swim is not going to remove him, so stop asking to cancel Rick and Morty.
No. It's like ridiculous. And not to mention the fact, there was actually a picture of the South Park kids all laughing that literally the caption was, "Oh my God, when fans of the show hear Rick and Morty's trying to be canceled." Again. They've tried to cancel that show since the pilot.
Yeah,
I'm pretty sure the pilot...
Man.
I mean, in the pilot, didn't Morty suck Rick's dick or something?
He did something really awful. And
All
weird,
I'm saying is it's not like Dan Harmon has ever tried to be a clean comedian.
No.
It's never been his job. So anyway, no.
All right.
For all of you out there who are trying to put us as, we promote pedophilia.
Absolutely
No.
not.
All I'm saying is calm down.
Yeah.
Okay? The views of Dan Harmon and his comedy do not reflect the views of us. But we are being honest when we say Leroy's not calling for his job, Jesse's not calling for his job, and I'm sitting here saying that outside of a bad sketch comedy, he doesn't have a history of anything.
No.
He's not on these flight logs that are in the news. Everybody calm down and focus on the real stuff. But anyway, back to wrestling. Leroy, you and I talked about this a little bit earlier. It's been now confirmed. SummerSlam will not take place at the Performance Center. It's going to be the very first pay-per-view since the beginning of, I believe, March is when they shut everything down?
Mid-March.
Mid-March,
okay.
yeah, something like that. Yeah.
It's going to be the first pay-per-view to take place outside of the Performance Center. They are reportedly going to be, is it the Amway Center?
Yes, in Orlando. They're actually
in Orlando?
Yeah.
Okay. So anyway,
They haven't officially announced it, but they keep teasing it.
Yeah.
Well, actually, no. They actually finally did on
that
Friday.
is official.
Yep,
No,
it's official now.
They said they were going live, but they didn't say where.
They just didn't say when. But
Yeah.
it is
But
official.
anyway, here's the deal. There's also reports that they're going to have a situation like the NBA has in the bubble where people can basically come up as virtual fans.
Yeah.
And if they're paying, even if you make $20, that's still $20. $20 is $20. And when you haven't made any ticket revenue in over 6-7 months, that's going to be helpful.
Yeah.
So my biggest thing is that, look, is it going to look hokey? Probably. Is it going to look a little bit off? Yes. But I'm going to be honest, it won't to me, because I've watched a lot of the NBA bubble games. Not as bad as I thought it was going to be.
No.
Honestly, not as gimmicky or as kiddie as I thought it was going to be.
It actually mostly works.
Yeah.
I watched that.
And they're also moving
the
Raw and SmackDown tapings.
Yeah.
To these
Amway,
places, to Amway.
And I've watched the NHL do it, and it was good. I mean,
the NHL is trolling everybody because they put actual fans in the arena. And when I mean fans, I mean actual...
Literally, fans. Like
they actually put actual fans.
Like the fan that you got right there.
Exactly. They put that in the seats because the NHL is famous for being that sport that, like, we're just going to make fun of ourselves. We don't give a shit. But no, I mean, your thoughts on SummerSlam finally going live and possibly, Leroy, moving to a different place and I guess getting out of the Performance Center.
Well, I think it's good. I mean, the bigger venue, it's not going to be the people they're going to have, the same kind of crowd they've had in there, but people are going to have their entrances. They can have a hell of an entrance.
Yes.
I mean, Drew McIntyre can have one hell of an entrance coming into SummerSlam, which he should have got that for WrestleMania, but he's going to get it now.
Drew, in
it's
my
going to be great.
Said something after WrestleMania where he said, it was cool the way it happened because you got to see me in a mode that I normally don't get in until I go back to the locker room. But at the same time, that Drew should have won that in front of 85,000 people.
Yes, it
you
would have been
know
way
that
better.
Drew should have won that
way better.
in the middle of Tampa Bay Stadium.
Yeah.
And my biggest thing is it's a return to normalcy. Sort of
kind, yeah.
It's an opportunity for the fans to say I was there even though they were at home.
Yeah.
Look, we've been trying to get entertainment, especially sports, back in a lot of ways. Give them a chance. I mean, here's the deal. There is nothing we can do right now because sadly leaders on both sides can't come up with a strategy that makes sense to them, so whatever. Like I said, we don't get political on the show because we hate everybody, but the fact of the matter is this. Everyone that's in charge, y'all fucked this up. I don't care if that's two. Y'all screwed this whole thing up.
I give you mine for today. All right.
But no, it's just. I mean, if you're sitting there thinking, "Oh, we're gonna get back to normal because of this," It ain't gonna work. It ain't gonna happen. Let's keep NXT at Full Sail. Let's keep doing what we're doing. I'm all for things that are different. I'm all for things that are an attempt to get back to normal before we get our medical field in check.
Yeah.
But, I mean...
I will say
I don't hate it.
I love the idea.
Okay.
I absolutely... I got to give him credit because, to be honest, he deservedly took some crap for... Vince did for the way they kind of started, and then all the cuts and stuff. But I understood why they did the cuts. It was just
here's the deal. Here's the deal, and I want to address that for a second because everyone's saying, well, okay, now it's the whole thing. Well, you were mad at WWE. Why aren't you mad at AEW? AEW had no choice. They had to get rid of those people because they were just not good for business.
Yeah.
The whole allegation thing. But here's the deal. Vince is a businessman first. He's a wrestling promoter second.
No, and here's a good thing. Vince actually still paid them for a couple of months afterwards, so it's not.
They were still paid.
A lot of people don't realize they actually did get paid for like a couple of months still. So Vince didn't just be like, well, you're shit out of luck.
And by the way, everyone who's saying, well, AEW didn't fire anyone, but I'm like, here's the deal. Vince is in the business of business.
Yeah.
You do things preemptively to avoid things.
Yes.
Okay. And by the way, just because Vince last quarter made like $43 million profit during the pandemic.
143 million.
Well, okay.
It's insane how much money they made without fans there. But
but
I need to do that.
Back to the Amway Center. I
can we also point out that like 90% of those cuts weren't even on television. No one cared.
That's true. But to the Amway Center. Also, because one of my favorite characters right now in WWE is the Fiend. But one of the things I've been missing from him is that cool ass entrance. And luckily, they haven't done it much because
I'll say this though. I think Bray and the Fiend have actually, because Bray's stuff has always been a lot of pre-tape. So, in my opinion, I think Bray has actually been one of the breakout stars.
For sure.
To
me, starting last year with the before we got to Hell in a Cell, which I will not speak about right now.
We all want to forget that. I think Seth's entire career wants to forget that.
Should we do a rundown of the cards so far?
Yeah,
let's go for it.
No.
We'll do guests. All right, we'll give our predictions on them. Mm-hmm. Do you want to list them off and then give our guesses, or just do all of them once and then whatever?
Let's go one at a time.
One at a time? All right.
Yeah.
The first one on the list that I have here are the Street Profits tag team, the Raw Championship against Andre and Angel Garza.
Actually, I gotta cut in. I think the titles are changing.
Oh yeah.
I get a feeling on that too. Yes, I do agree with that.
I see this as, look. Yes, it was due to pandemic, but the Street Profits are officially the longest reigning Raw champions. They've had a good run with Andrade and Angel Garza.
And the worst news for the Street Profits is, because Vince likes them, but Vince is very, 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 very high on Angel Garza, who he sees as the next Eddie Guerrero.
Look,
that guy's getting a push at some point.
Look, Angel's talented.
And he's very good for how young he is.
He is good. Yeah.
My biggest thing is, in my opinion, if they keep them on them, I don't care.
Yeah.
But if they change, I'm not going to complain.
True. I think I think there would be a title change there.
Yeah.
All right, and then Apollo Crew.
Is there plans on a pre-show with this situation?
I think that is the pre-show match, isn't it?
Okay.
I have not heard anything yet. They haven't done that yet.
Okay.
Apollo Crew MVP for the U.S. Championship
rematch. Which, by the way, can I point out? I think this is the first rematch after a title shot that I've seen in a while.
Because to be fair, they couldn't actually do this match at the last pay-per-view because, the WWE said he was injured, but Apollo tested positive for COVID, so they actually had to keep him off TV.
Right. But anyway, what I like is, ever since they got rid of the immediate title rematches, everything has been build up to a title match, it's over, move on to the next. I like that MVP lost, but they're continuing with MVP and Apollo Crews.
And I'm
actually excited that they're actually believing in somewhat long-term booking. Whether it's because they had nothing else to do or not, I like that it's going from not just a title match on TV, but to a pay-per-view title match.
Oh, yeah.
And maybe MVP wins and then they have a rubber match. I'm okay with this.
It's very possible.
I think Apollo... He's not going to lose his title. I don't think they're going to do that.
Okay.
But I think, if he wins, if MVP, it's going to be
Apollo
a DQ.
Crews needs... I don't know what it is, but he needs one more tool in the box, and I think Vince looks at him as a world champion.
I think I think, and before you go to the next one, I actually think this whole story with him and MVP is lead. They were actually supposed to actually turn him heel on SmackDown last year.
Yeah.
And I think because Vince kind of said, apparently the rumor is Vince said to him, I would like to get you with a manager and turn you heel because his in-ring performances are incredible. The guy can tell a story. He can sell very well. He's very good. But Vince was kind of, and he looks great.
Yeah,
but Vince was very, very half on his mic work.
Yeah.
So I'm going to go with MVP on this one because I think the rubber match is MVP ends up keeping the title and he just joins one of the best things on Raw, the Hurt Business.
Good idea. All right, and then the lovely Monday Night Messiah, Seth Rollins, against Dominic. Now it's a street fight.
Oh,
they changed it.
You hit him 30 times with a Singapore cane.
Well, first
you hit him 30 times with a kendo stick.
I know. And hey, wrestling's fake. Yeah, whatever.
Oh,
but
that
no,
hurt, by the way.
First it was just him with that, and then now it's gonna be a street fight.
Yeah.
I think Seth's gonna win this. If Dominic wins, it's gonna be some weird way that he wins.
I got some news for you guys. I think Dominic's gonna win because
You
they just re-signed Ray.
Yeah.
So I think this is still. I think this is something where
I will say this though, a win for Dominic.
With the help of his father.
No. I'm saying overall, regardless of how it happens. Right now, a win for Dominic doesn't really help Dominic.
No, don't at all.
But it also doesn't even...
Does nothing to Seth at all.
But if Seth wins, it does a lot more for him.
Yeah.
And it doesn't really hurt Dominic because nobody's expecting Dominic Mysterio to compete with basically the best in-ring performer of maybe any generation. Seth is the most...
Outside of Will Ospreay, but I agree.
I understand.
He's going to get so much damn heat for winning.
Darren Corbin, I've got the chance to go back and watch some of your matches, buddy. You're getting up there, brother. Oh my God, man! I've watched some of your stuff. You're so goddamn good.
Seeing him live is even better, man. Trust
me. No. See, in my opinion, I want it to be Seth. If it's Dominic, cool. It's a great redemption story, and it kind of shoots Dominic to the stratosphere. But a win for Dominic at this point in his career, I don't feel like it helps him. I just don't. I'm sorry.
I actually doesn't think. I don't think a loss hurts either because if he's just like killing this kid for like 5 minutes and then Seth runs down and costs Seth the match, then I think it still helps Seth because it's just like, Daddy had to come out because the kid was gonna die.
Right.
Like,
this is another story that's been going on for a while,
and
they
4 or 5 months,
and they could keep it going. I mean, they could do an injury on Dominic. Boom, he's out for a little while, and they could do it another pay-per-view.
I'm kind of bummed that they... I mean, yes, it was due to injury originally, but I'm kind of bummed that Kevin Owens isn't back in this story more. Although I will say this, the Kevin Owens show where he reunited the Riot Squad, Kevin was on point.
The one that makes me sadder was because, I was watching Raw and I'm watching the contract sign, I'm like, damn, I miss Samoa Joe.
Right.
Damn, how good is this guy? Like,
there's still hints that he's coming back.
But I hope so.
Yeah.
All right, now we're gonna go to, and this is gonna be scary because I really hope it doesn't happen to her. Mandy Rose, Sonya Deville, hair versus hair.
Mandy's not losing.
Mandy is not losing.
Nope, not gonna happen.
Can't. My peach is not gonna lose.
And by the way, I'm not.
Love my peach.
I'm not saying. Here's the deal. I'm not saying it's because blonde versus black hair. I'm not saying that it's Mandy Rose, straight, guys can love her, and then Sonya's gay. I'm not saying it has anything to do with
a story.
I just think story-wise, the way they've built. Okay, here's the deal. When Emma was still in WWE, and they tried the Emelina thing, and then that failed miserably. And then they basically tried to do it with Liv too, and that failed.
Yeah.
The closest they've gotten to that being successful, it's been Mandy.
Yeah.
Also, Allison pretty much said when she watched the attack, she pretty much even said, if you look closely, Sonya was cutting the hair extensions anyway.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's not like she actually cut the hair.
Well, I think, if anything, too, out of the two, I think Sonya, if she gets, her head, her hair cut down really, she has the character and she can do that character
Well, that's
with
just it. Well, that's just
the
it.
new
This
hairstyle.
goes back to my
I think it'll
issue-
definitely work.
This goes back to my issue, and this is not a shot at Jesse, but this goes back to my issue with AEW. You guys are not thinking long term, and you're also not even thinking about the way that you've presented these people.
That's true.
Okay? The way that Mandy has been presented is she is God's greatest creation. Sorry out there to the women who love body positivity. Guys are not going to like a bald woman as much as they like a woman with hair. It's just not a thing. I'm sorry. That is fact. Sex
like
sells, and the hair's got a lot to do with it.
I like Sinead O'Connor, but I like her for her music, not the way she looked.
Yeah, but here's the thing. We are in the entertainment business. We don't care. Well, okay, we're sensitive to situations like LBGT and like women positivity, women's revolution. It's all been there. But we're also not... Okay, so this is the argument about why everyone was like, well, why does Wonder Woman have to look the way she does? Because the nuns are not buying the comic books.
Yep.
Virgins living in their parents' basement are buying the comic books. Sorry, that's how it works.
Plus, before we go to the next match, story-wise, it just makes sense. Plus, like you were talking about with Sonya, I actually think she could... So something was brought up on a show I like to watch called Wrestle
Are they going to shave it, though, or are they just going to quick...
I actually hope she shaves her own head, like... Mandy gets like the most devastating roll up in all of professional wrestling. You know, the roll up for the pin.
Yeah.
But then like on some badass stuff, Sonya just shaves herself on some like Minoru Suzuki shit.
Oh yeah.
Because then
just
like
freaks out.
Yeah, and then like because apparently Vince is high on just her as herself, where like. Vince was always half and half on Ronda, like, I love your smile, blah, blah, blah.
Well, now, again, I don't like to say that stuff on the show, only because the last, 4 documentaries I've watched, they've put so many rumors to bed. Case in point, Last Ride, everyone was like, well, Taker was mad at Goldberg. No, he wasn't.
No, he wasn't.
Number 2, Vince lost favor in Ricochet. Ricochet did that documentary, which, by the way, was all the way up to pretty much the day.
Yeah, I didn't get a chance to watch that yet.
Ricochet even said, I'm not disappointed in my performance. And Vince, and again, if Vince actually says something, I'll believe it. But if it's a dirt sheet, I stay off it, man.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well, this apparently is a report from a couple months ago when the story started.
Yeah.
But Sonya has been so good in her heel character.
Oh, so good.
I think it would only push her further if she kind of turns into this female.
I'm not saying that Mandy can't wrestle, but Sonya is definitely the better wrestling talent.
Well, she's the best. And to be honest, the promo between the two, you could tell which one was written and which person was cutting an actual promo.
Oh yeah.
And Sonya was so damn good.
Oh yeah.
I'm excited to see this match, and like I said, I'm hoping she loses her hair and pulls some like badass Minoru Suzuki stuff.
Oh
becomes an even better character.
I'm pulling for my peach there. Yeah. Like what is that? I'm pulling for my peach.
Okay.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. All right. I'm gonna hold on to the women's matches, title matches last, because that's more interesting.
Oh yeah.
Drew, Randy for the Raw.
I think Randy's winning.
I don't.
Nope.
No? I don't. And here's why. I think if Randy loses, it allows him to go straight from Legend Killer into the 2000. Was it 2009 that he and Cena?
2008, 2009 Psycho Randy.
Yeah. I think you then can have a seamless transition. True. I also think that with getting rid of Rick, there's not the sentimental value of getting another title reign. And then I think that number 3, Drew is just hot as hell.
But the problem with Drew is he has missed us in the crowd. Like,
oh yeah.
I mean, he's been excellent without us there.
Yeah.
But I'm like, man. How much better would this bring us in if we were there?
But at the same time, the guy has had so many moments where he's been sarcastic, but like in a fascist way.
Yeah.
But he hasn't lost the Scottish psychopath version of things.
No, he hasn't. No.
And it's just
he deserves a longer run.
Oh, definitely.
I mean, he needs to keep it for a while.
And look, if it's a situation like was reported that when Drew does finally drop the title, that he's still going to be a main event star, and it's not like a Kobe situation where Kobe's going to come down a little bit. Here's the deal: if that's the case, just make sure Drew's got something coming afterwards. Don't just have him in the can for 6 months.
Yeah.
But I just, in my opinion, it's not time. You haven't built any. Look. The problem is that Randy is currently working off a recycled character. As good as it is,
oh god,
it's a recycled character.
He's been one of the best things on Raw since the
pandemic.
He really has.
100%. But the thing about it is that I it's not time. I'm sorry, it's not. not to mention.
But if it's not Randy, here's my back question to you. If it's not Randy, then who? Because remember they pulled the Seth card early. They pulled the Seth card right after WrestleMania. Well, so who's the other guy who they have?
They could still bring Randy back at a different time to do it.
True. But I mean, if you beat him here now, though, I think I look at the roster. Does he go back to Bobby Lashley, who they've kind of like? He's still like in the Hurt business. Bobby isn't really the mid card that people think he is because he's in the Hurt business because he hasn't gone after the U.S. title. He's destroyed everyone in the 24/7.
Bobby is right now, I think, just hanging out with a place where he can be to look tough.
And to be fair, the way they ended that match was Lana cost him the title match, so it's not like they couldn't bring Bobby back. But I'm like, he's about it.
Have they been divorced, or did
Lana... well, basically they said divorce, and they just have not been seen.
They haven't officially that, but we haven't seen her.
Or did Lana just all of a sudden turn around and Natalia's all of a sudden in matching outfits with Lana?
If we talk about Raw, I want to go off on that. If we
hang on.
All right.
So
we'll get there.
All right. What else?
We got Braun and the Fiend for the championship.
Fiend is winning.
Here's my thing.
I think Braun's
title reign, and more so, I think it's because of pandemic.
Can I say this? Braun/Roman's title reign.
Fair.
Okay, yeah, there we go. Yeah.
Braun's reign, I think, still has some growing to do, but it has been not what I expected. But that's more so, I do think, to pandemic than actual writing.
Yeah.
But here's the thing: if we look at the past of the Fiend, this is around the time Bray gets his. I don't want to say revenge because that's what everyone thinks it is. Story-wise, it's his retribution, and that's what the Fiend exists for. So. But now, here's my problem. Here's my question. I think you have to pull Braun and Bray longer because here's why. Braun's the last one left.
But here's the question.
Rowan's gone. Brody Lee's gone. This is the last time that the Fiend can make amends. This is the end. So...
Well, here's the biggest question people have been asking. It's a good question.
Because the Fiend has yet to face someone that's like newish.
True. How do you make either one of these guys lose? Because, they did the whole thing with the Fiend and the Goldberg thing completely backlash, and they basically booed him out of a championship. Well, it was terrible.
Yeah, Alexa's probably going to play a role in there somewhere.
Which will help, but I'm like, without. Here's why I think the Fiend's going to win. Because recently, the story they have been telling is one. It was kind of a double turn. It felt like a double turn.
Oh yeah.
Where he basically, in a sense, kind of came out for her.
Yeah.
Even though Braun tossed her in the air. By the way, guys, I don't know if you haven't watched that clip. It's apparently one of the most viral clips WWE's had in months.
But no, okay.
I do think Alexa Bliss cost Braun here. That's why I believe he's going to win.
No, okay. All right. I want to say this about the Alexa Bliss clip. For those of you out there in Twitter land, which I am not a part of and I don't want to be a part of, if you're saying
it's kind of funny,
right? How can WWE promote the women's division and build up women when they have this violent stuff? Okay, I want to make something clear. I am not advocating for violence against women consistently, and I sure as fuck don't. I don't care. And I sure as hell don't want to see intergender matches on WWE. Don't do that.
No,
it's a bad idea. Stay away from that. But here's the deal: violence against women,
when done right, works.
But that's it. This was good because Braun has turned.
Yeah.
And by the way, the only other thing they've done recently was Baron Corbin giving the end of days to Becky Lynch.
Which, by the way, made that whole thing so much better.
But again, remember, going back to what Spot Monkey doesn't get, how you present yourselves. Yeah. Becky was calling herself the man.
Yep.
She was standing up to the guys. She was standing there with no fear of the fact the dude's 3 times her size. So it made sense. She took a bump that made sense.
Yeah.
So I don't care. And first of all, guys, the lights went out because he caught her and then set her down.
Yeah.
That's how it works. This is wrestling.
It was, by the way, you could tell it was totally edited.
Oh, yeah.
So she was just selling.
Randy didn't actually
kick Ric Flair. Yeah.
Yeah.
The light went out and we missed it. That's how it goes.
Yep.
Okay, but no, I mean, okay. I think Alexa's going to play a part. I don't know what it's going to turn into because the thing about it is that surprisingly, Braun's character, despite not wanting a damn thing to do with Alexa, he sort of came back to being Braun Strowman.
The monster among men.
A little bit. A wee bit there.
Well, he got paintbrushed a couple times.
Well, because the biggest thing that
she wasn't actually trying to slap.
The worst thing that they ever did with Braun was turn him into like the smiling, happy monster.
No.
To me, it did because it got to get old, especially when he lost to Brock a couple times.
However, remember, you took a guy who was a culted monster, and now you have to turn him...
very green, by the way, when they brought him up.
That's fair, but I think it worked because now you have to turn him into a non-cult person.
Yeah.
It didn't work so well with Luke Harper. That's why I think he went back to the Wyatt family. It didn't work with Eric Rowan. That's why I think he eventually was no longer a part of things. My biggest thing is you had to do something to turn Braun into a... Braun had to become one of the guys in order to continue with what he was doing because he wasn't the monster among men anymore. He wasn't the black sheep of the Wyatt family. So I think it was a necessary evil. Although it made him look a little different, it was a necessary evil in the wrestling business. But...
Well, sometimes I got to stretch.
I wasn't looking at it. It didn't bother me. But anyway, I've got... I don't know who I've got.
I guess
only because I don't know where you go with the Fiend.
I'm about to say, because the biggest problem that they did with the Fiend was when you pulled the trigger on him facing Seth last year, you should have just pulled the trigger on him beating him the first time for the title. Like that was the biggest.
Well, Vince takes full responsibility.
Which is why, I would have not put him in the title picture for a year, which is a lot of us, people who kind of where they're like, no, don't put him into the title picture. Let him start to get his, and then go get Seth, then go get Roman.
Right.
Right now, I think it works for two reasons.
Okay.
One, with the story they have with Alexa, I actually have a feeling, and I don't know what their story-wise is thinking, but I have a feeling maybe Bray wants to do something where Alexa almost joins the Firehouse. She gets some sort of but you don't want to go too supernatural, but she just changes enough where she believes in him.
We have an Alexa in here.
Yeah, I have one in the kitchen.
I have to remember when there's one here, you have to say Bliss and not, where she believes in Bray so much.
Actually well done.
When I was watching the interview on Smackdown, she really sold I'm actually kind of interested in him. He's just fascinating to me. And I think that's why, in the end, especially after what Braun did, she is going to cost him the championship.
Okay. Anyway, next match there, Leroy?
Well, say the next two.
Okay.
The women's title for Raw and SmackDown.
So fascinating.
For the Raw, Sasha, Asuka.
Yeah.
For SmackDown, Bayley, Asuka. Coming in on Friday night and winning the multi-brand battle royal.
Many turns to this. I don't know what to do.
I don't know where to start.
Which woman loses and then causes the split between Bayley and Sasha? Does Asuka lose both and we continue with this Bayley and Sasha thing?
Or does Asuka win
Or
both?
do they win both of them and all of a sudden the girls got to defend the tag titles literally 7 days later?
Okay. Asuka 2 belts. That's my gut.
Here's
It'd be fun.
Fascinating.
Here's the thing, though. Asuka, I don't want her to unify things. I don't want there to be one title for women anymore.
I don't want that, no.
But hear me out. We are still, and sorry to all the ladies in the roster, they're still writing for Becky coming back. You know they are. Sorry, they are.
Probably.
But Asuka needs to look strong because they gave her the belt after Becky left. They can't make the person after Becky look bad because you can't have that big of a drop off from the biggest star you had in 10 years.
And I don't mean to cut you off.
No.
And to be fair, but it almost feels like if they put both belts on her, it's kind of owed to her. Because remember, when she came
up
from...
won the Smackdown.
Well, here's why. When she came up from NXT, she was still built as the unbeatable monster.
Fair.
And then, of course, she ran into the Charlotte Monster at WrestleMania. In a match, to me, she shouldn't have lost, but I digress.
Fair.
I think this would be the perfect, listen, you've done everything we've asked you to do. You and Kyrie actually helped build those tag titles. When, for a minute, they meant nothing. To be fair to the Iconics, it wasn't their fault. They just didn't have them around much.
No.
But it would almost be like, thank you. For a short run, you'll have both titles.
Yeah.
But I would think, in my head, for some reason, I would think she would probably lose the SmackDown one first. Because right now, who after Asuka, Nia Jax, you cannot stop getting in trouble apparently.
But again, if she wins the Raw title, that builds the Becky situation. Again.
True, but if she wins both of them for a short time, if she only has the SmackDown Championship for just a couple of weeks.
Because here's the deal. Recently, I saw an interview with Seth that he was asked how Becky's doing at home, and surprisingly, he said she hates it. Not surprising that she hates it, but the way she hates it. She hates not being part of the go, go, go.
Okay.
So where most people are like, oh my God, the road's killing me, I need some time off, Becky is apparently wanting that go, go, go. So something tells me, unless the very moment she has the kid flips a switch, I think Becky is have the kid and then find my way back to the ring.
Probably.
I think based on that, that's where Becky's at. But anyway, going back to this, the other issue with having Asuka be both, the biggest story you've had since this whole thing fit has been
Asuka, Sasha, and Bayley.
No, just Sasha Bayley.
Well, true, but Asuka's been a part of it.
So who losing benefits the eventual split up more? Mm-hmm. What? So does ending the reign that has been so amazing of Bayley, is that gonna turn Bayley against Sasha, or is Sasha losing so quickly gonna make Sasha boil over and turn against Bayley? Because here's the deal. In my opinion, with how big these two women have gotten, I don't even think it's a knock on Lacey Evans or a knock on Naomi or a knock on Shayna Baszler. It's not a knock on any woman in any division. They have just taken the brass ring and climbed so high that just no one's on their level because they're just on another level. Yeah. That's not saying Lacey's not talented. That's not saying Naomi's not the most athletic person in the business. That's not saying that, Io Shirai is not great. They are just on a different level. The hatred, and by the way, I hate to say it, as much as Allison disagrees, the hatred, unlike Joey Janela, unlike Brandy Rhodes, it's not go home heat.
No, it's not.
It's we hate you, but we still want to watch you.
Yeah.
Okay? So that's my whole thing is this is right now they are literally running the tightrope between crazy and perfection. So I don't know what's planned, and I ain't gonna know until Raw the next night where Bayley and Sasha go, because they gotta be on every show. They gotta be on everything right now because they are everything.
And a part of me also thinks Asuka 2 belts for a short time, because I think in the end they will just let her keep the Raw title.
Yeah.
They basically need her on Raw.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Is that I think it, say if they did the Asuka and Bayley won first.
Yeah.
And then once again Bayley taps out to her.
Yeah.
I think Bayley accidentally cost Sasha.
Here's the other thing.
That could, yeah.
Here's the other thing that I think we're all missing. I don't think any of us can make a proper prediction. And tell me, and correct me if I'm wrong. Mm-hmm. I don't think any of us can make a proper prediction until we know what order these two matches are taking place.
Very true.
That is true. Yeah, the list they have on here, they just have one because they have the heavyweight championship for the men's.
Because the result
and
of the first one is gonna
preempt you on the story of what could happen in the second.
Because again, in my opinion, this could be the end of Asuka being involved with Sasha and Bayley.
Oh, I think so.
And then you finally get Sasha and Bayley where the crack is now real.
Yeah.
So I don't know. until I see which match is first.
And to be fair, I mean, I'm not sure if you guys watched the segment after the back. She went back in the back and beat them both up again.
Yep.
Yeah,
So I'm like, they're definitely building Asuka incredibly strong again. Thank God.
But again, I foresee.
I love Asuka.
I foresee.
She's my future wife.
Still single.
Yeah.
I foresee
blame me at all.
Asuka. I foresee Asuka staying hot, whether she's the champ for the whole time or not. I see her being Raw Women's Champion by the time Becky gets back.
Oh, for sure. Because they want to do that story.
Whenever Becky gets back, I foresee.
Unless Charlotte
something.
comes back beforehand, then that's all another story.
Well, again, I think with Charlotte, I think while she's gone, you really got to write something new. You just do.
Well, what I've liked that I've seen with Sasha gone AEW, take notes, even though I do love you at times,
Becky,
is that Charlotte gone, I've gotten to see Shayna Baszler come back, and you're like, oh yeah, that's right, she can just beat your ass.
By the way, another situation where the dirt sheets need not be listened to
because people thought like Vince wasn't high on Shayna, which I never believed.
But then the report came out when she was finally back on TV that at the end of the day, as you and I talked about on the show, I think it was just you and me when we talked about this. The only thing they had for her was Becky.
Yeah.
Then Becky went home, and it's like, we ain't got shit for you. So let's just take you. And by the way, I hate when somebody has nothing, yet they're on TV every week. Because you're just watering down what they're doing. If you take Baszler, and the last thing you saw her with was F. Becky's baby, that keeps her fresh in your mind. Is, the last time I saw you, you told an infant child to go pretty much piss off.
But they've built Shayna. I've also, like on SmackDown, I'm glad they took Lacey Evans out of the title picture, turned her heel again, and have her fight someone like Naomi, because
I think that the timing for a championship run for Lacey will come,
absolutely,
but it's just not time.
No,
not right now.
I thought when she got put into that title picture with Becky, it was just too soon. But
the problem is that Becky being gone, we talked about this when she first left, and as emotional as we all got seeing her go, because
I was so happy for her.
Here's the deal. Her being gone might be the best thing that happened to the women's division.
Yes.
Nothing against Becky. Becky was the hottest thing since Stone Cold. You can't give me any.
No.
She was hotter than Cena. Sorry, she was.
Yes.
But it's just, here's the deal. Now, it's like when Edge retired. It's a force.
Yeah.
It's a forcing of the changing of the guard. You got to, because here's the deal. The NXT Women's Division ain't different from when Becky was on Raw.
No.
It's the same division, but it wasn't featured.
No.
Rhea Ripley wasn't Rhea Ripley until Becky walked out the door.
Yeah.
Dakota Kai wasn't Dakota Kai. By the way, where is Raquel Gonzalez? Anybody know? Have they announced anything on where she is?
No, I haven't heard anything. Okay. No.
Anyway, but no, it's just Becky, and again, Becky pulled a Seinfeld. In that, Jerry Seinfeld ended the show
while he was on top
poorly, but ended the show when it was time.
Yeah.
They were still hot. They still could have gone another probably 100 episodes, but it would have gotten drowned out at that point.
Yeah.
Hugh Jackman, I would say Wolverine finally had come back into the mainstream to where it was huge and it was one of the most talked about superhero things. It was the only thing DC or Sony had over Marvel at the time was Wolverine. And then Logan just came out and we're done.
Yeah. So
Becky leaves. She wasn't pinned. She wasn't beaten. She's gone. She was forced to in a way. And it kept the momentum hot. It kept everything the way it should have been.
Absolutely.
But look,
this is going to be tough. I don't know how they're going to do this. It's going to be tough.
I don't know what you do.
But
because the hottest thing you've had going has been Sasha and Bayley for 5 months.
The biggest thing is for WWE before we get off of SummerSlam, what Vince does best, he really does. When he's in a corner, that's when he does. That's when they do their best work.
And by the way, in my opinion, for all of you out there who are like, "Oh, they're just scripting every promo, blah blah blah," and hold on. And no. I think they are to a large point, but hold on. I will argue with Jim on this: is that while I think sometimes you can just take a script and then make it work, I don't think Bayley and Sasha had any script. I don't think they. But again, when Vince asked on the Stone Cold podcast to grab the brass ring, they did it, and now he's giving them leeway to do whatever they want. Yeah. If you want to do more of what you want, earn Vince's trust.
Yeah.
Be good. This is what we talked about with Shad. Shad gave Nick Foles $102 million because Nick Foles had 2 good runs with the Eagles. One, yes, was a championship, but one was a halfway decent run in the playoffs. Yeah. And then Shad Khan said, all right, you have my approval because of what you did there. But Vince gives the leeway to people who do things for him, not for other people. Shad Khan gave Nick Foles $102 million, and after 1 year, he's got Gardner Minshew. And now Nick Foles is
probably going to be the quarterback for Chicago Bears.
Yeah, because trust me, ain't nobody believing in Mitch Trubisky.
Yeah.
But no, it's just I don't know what to do.
Yeah, it's
because they've been so good.
Yeah, they have been.
Love or hate them, they've been fantastic.
They've been the best segments.
Allison always talks about how much she hates it. I'm like, good, you're supposed to.
You're supposed to. They're heels, but yeah, I don't know what they're gonna do, but. When she won, I'm like, I'm like, I have to see SummerSlam.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, I was already into most of the SummerSlam card, but I'm like, and I got a feeling AJ and Jeff will get at it, but that will probably be pre-show.
No.
They're having one.
Well, they said they're having it next week, but I have a feeling it'll be a fluky finish, and then
I hope so.
Actually, hold on. That's a good segue. Do you think maybe they get interrupted by Retribution and then they just change the match to SummerSlam?
Good possibility.
I think so.
As we transition, Retribution has once again attacked the SmackDown locker room.
Before you finish, I got a question for you two, because I like I said, I didn't get the chance to listen till last week.
Yeah.
But I kind of heard you guys the first week.
Yeah. Go ahead.
So is Retribution just supposed to really hate SmackDown? Because I've never seen them attack anybody on Raw.
They've messed with Raw.
So they blew up a
Transformer.
So we're probably going to disagree on Retribution, just to let you guys know.
Okay, no.
So they blew up a Transformer, and then they half-heartedly threw a brick through the same glass, by the way, that the Street Profits went through.
First of all,
that was just Raw, by the way.
No, I know. First of all, can I point out? You threw a brick through a window, fine. Who the hell was behind the camera producing the segment that didn't look at them and say, break another window, don't throw it through the same goddamn window?
To me, because when I look at
pre-taping this shit.
Like, when I've looked at Retribution, I'm like, I think I get what they're going for, but for me, it hasn't executed at all.
Well, hold on, Jesse, because we discussed this with Willie last week.
Okay.
We think Retribution is an off-color way of WWE talking about Black Lives Matter. Not in a negative connotation.
No. Just
but the rioting sense of what's... And again, I am not saying Black Lives Matter had anything to do with the riots. They were all peaceful protests. That's great. Love you guys for it. The rioters were something totally different.
Yeah.
But again, Vince has always had a weird way of taking real-world events and putting them on the show.
Yeah.
So, in my opinion, Retribution... I think they've handled the whole Twitter thing a bit off.
Yeah.
Being warned that a new faction is showing up, fine. Finding out their name on there, fine. Telling us on Twitter that we've heard from Retribution they're coming back, no. I don't know. I don't need that. But no. Here's the deal. I don't hate it. I don't dislike it. I'm just somewhat confused because, okay. The running joke on the internet is they're not all over 5'8".
On SmackDown, they actually have had the bigger guys.
Yeah.
So.
Well, now see, that's the question.
Yeah.
Is this just a situation where they're taking a bunch of extras and they're making them do stupid shit, and then all of a sudden, when it's time to reveal them, they're actually gonna put the real Retribution under the mats?
That is because right now I'm like so far.
Because so many people are stuck because of travel issues.
True. Well, I know fans are hoping maybe because Dominic Dijakovic kind of did some dark stuff.
Yeah, but if Dijakovic.
Well,
people
thought they heard his voice last week when they attacked Big E.
By the way, saw him live. He is all of whatever they call him. He is a big mother. He's a big dude.
I've heard, and he's
holy
excellent.
Smokes, he's big.
And then, of course, some fans, and I would hope that maybe they go this route because I know there was some word on bringing up Ciampa for a couple of storylines, including maybe one with Randy. Is that it's
only going to work if SmackDown stays in the Orlando area because we all know Ciampa's not traveling consistently on the main roster.
Yeah. Well, no. Well, I mean, right now, so it's Amway is in Orlando, and I think Full Sail's in Orlando too.
Yes.
So he wouldn't be traveling too far.
No.
But
no. That's what I'm saying. Is that if he is in Retribution?
Yeah.
Retribution will probably be done by the time they go back on the road because.
Because he's already said he would prefer to just stay in Florida and not travel too much. Yeah. I understand he's like close to his 40s and not over.
Well, not only that, but it's like we all know because the neck is on borrowed.
Yeah.
We all know that.
Yeah.
So we all knew Edge was on borrowed time. He just did one bad spear to Brodus Clay, and then it just kind of threw everything apart.
But I will be interested to see how they continue to use them. But I have to admit, it was so stupid and hokey when it started. I'm like, wait, is this like a teenage version of the Shield? I'm like, what the hell's going on? Because they were just flickering lights. There was the lights, Apollo and MVP wrestled lights out halftime.
No. Let's be fair to the story. They're not flickering the lights. They destroyed something that was the technical thing, so there are technical issues.
Well, I think the worst thing I saw was I want to say it was Charlie backstage on Raw, and so they cut back to her, and I think this was a couple of weeks ago. Her big report was that they flipped the box. You guys remember this?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm like, so the biggest thing so far is that they flipped the box.
But again, for those of you that want,
I'm going to give it time, though. Of course, I'm going to give it time.
We got to.
And I agree with that. But again, what I'm saying is. And to all you people who want to say that I'm anti-Black Lives Matter, the idea behind the riots was it was a lot of big stuff, it was a lot of little stuff, it was a lot of this, a lot of that. So there's layers to riots.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, and again, I am not advocating that Black Lives Matter are a bunch of hoodlums who want to destroy cities.
No.
There were issues. Things happened. I am not diminishing anything that's happened.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, this is a way to present a real-world scenario without ruffling the feathers of what's going on. Because remember, we were having all these Russian issues, and he brought in Rusev and Lana.
Yes, he did.
Oh, yeah.
It wasn't directly directed at the Putin stuff.
To be honest, people forget before we kind of get off of Retribution, they have Rusev and Lana bring in a photo of Vladimir Putin on Raw one time and talk about how great he was for like 5-6 minutes.
Yeah.
As they were getting booed out of the arena.
It worked. So another odd storyline, which I'm surprised they haven't entered, or Retribution, hasn't entered. Raw Underground apparently was brought back for a second week.
Yeah.
It was kind of funny because you brought in Shayna Baszler, who's an actual trained MMA badass. You have a situation where I guess they took away the strippers because once again they're like, well, here's the deal. You can have women empowerment and strippers. It's a thing.
Yep.
Anyone out there that says being a stripper,
bring the strippers back.
I actually think what I heard was the main complaint, which I had to, is like, man, this feels very, very 90s. Are we just...
Yeah.
Because, when they would show the women dancing, I'm like, yeah, it's cool, but this just feels like some shit you wanted to do in 2002, Vince.
But can I just point something out, ladies and gentlemen? And this is me getting a little bit feministic. When you talk about women being strippers, are they really the ones being exploited? Really? They're getting paid a lot of money.
It is empowering to be a stripper. Be proud of that if you are.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. Is that okay?
I have spent a lot of dollars.
His hard-earned money went to their hard-earned money.
Oh my God.
But anyway, but I don't. Okay, Raw Underground. Again, I am all for long-term booking. Give me a few more days. But I would like... The only thing I want is for Shane to talk a little more about why he's doing it.
We'll talk a little more why he's doing it. And
because
talk
he
a
said
little
he
less
likes it,
during the fights.
Yeah, that's fair.
Because I'm like, you have the referee there. Let him split them up. That's what he's there for.
Yeah.
Also, I get a sense why it's there. I know Babatunde, who I believe is a former Ring of Honor, or Evolve,
he's former Evolve.
Because they've only used him at a couple times.
Quick shout out! Evolve, ICW, and a bunch of other great indie shows are now on the WWE Network in full, the full libraries.
Yep.
I recommend checking them out because there's a lot of good talent,
including
in those
Progress, which if you've never seen a Progress match, Progress match, watch one.
They're probably going to edit out anything involving Jimmy Havoc, which is probably going to be hard to do because Jimmy Havoc was a large
I think they'll have it because what they won't do is the same thing that they did with Chris Benoit. They just won't tell his name on the thing. They'll have question marks.
Yeah, that's fair. But that's just it. Is that Jimmy Havoc was a large part of Progress.
Which, by the way, that means you guys can actually see Will Ospreay now on WWE Network.
Well, I don't think anybody's going to hire Will after this is all said and done because he got in a lot of trouble during the Speak Out movement.
He hasn't gotten fired from New Japan yet. But yeah, going back to Raw Underground, I'm going to be interested to see because Babatunde looked awesome. It was the first time I was like, I'm actually into Dolph. I forgot he has the amateur background.
Yeah.
And then of course Shayna killing the 3 women. That was the one time Raw Underground where I was like, yo, if they let her beat up a couple of these little dudes, I'd be down with that.
Oh hell yeah.
So I am interested to see where it goes.
I just think again we live in a culture that is so into short-term stuff that everyone saw it after 1 week and they're like, all right, we have to spend 20 hours. Look. Okay, here's the deal. When Sonic the Hedgehog got announced and I was a part of the cyberbullying that made that network change the fucking movie.
So
I don't care.
Why? That's fine.
Here's the deal. That's different.
I'm not counting. Don't worry.
No, that's different because we actually got a better Sonic.
Yeah.
Yeah, because that first Sonic sucked. Oh my god.
But here's the deal. Wrestling, everyone, and see, here's why I think AEW and WWE will never ever be able to truly go head to head. WCW was booking the same way WWE was. AEW is indie booking, instant gratification. Everything is going to happen tonight. It's going to happen 1 week at that. Vince, again, I think if we go back and we actually analyze the head-to-head ratings war, there are some nights that for a fact NXT just gave it to them.
Well, NXT was just a better show sometimes. NXT was just better. Even if they didn't win in the ratings, they were just a better show.
Well, what I'm saying is that you come off of Keith Lee's gigantic win at the Great American Bash. Everyone knows how Vince does pay-per-views. Mm-hmm. The next Raw is usually a dud because you just came off the high.
Yeah.
Yep.
It's not the old days when Rock and Stone Cold main evented a pay-per-view and then the next Monday Night Raw they're still beating the crap out of each other.
Yeah.
It's not the same thing anymore. But the thing is that, look, it's been 2 weeks of Raw Underground. Stop with this is never going to work because you don't know what it is.
Yeah, exactly.
You literally don't know what it is.
And I believe they've actually already taped 4 weeks of it, so
there
is no like, oh, this needs to end. Like, well, you're getting 2 more weeks for sure, so get over yourself.
So, anyway, we're going to get to something a little bit more fun here. Leroy, we're going to give you a couple of quick things here. You've got a few things for us. You have...
what do you want first?
Well, first and foremost, we here at 13 Card Subject to Change would like to send out our condolences to Mr. Darren Corbin, who recently lost a car that he has traveled many times with.
Yes.
We had a big 30-second storm here in Minnesota that knocked over a bunch of trees, and Darren happened to have one fall on his car. So our condolences to him.
As you said, he didn't know a tornado was going to go through his front yard.
Well, yeah, no one knew that. But anyway, so Leroy's got a few things here. We've got a quick moment of merch where Leroy... It's a nice segue. Leroy, you have a moment of merch from Mr. Darren Corbin.
Yes, definitely. If you don't know him, look him up. If you do know him, he has a new website, teespring.com.
It's not it's not his.
But he is doing his merchandise through that company.
I've actually got a... All right, here's the deal. I've gotten a lot of... I've gotten a lot of, like shirts from Teespring. I've ordered shirts from Teespring. You can customize things and stuff. They're actually really good quality stuff.
Yes, they are.
Oh, Teespring's doing a decent job in shirts. A lot of my wardrobe is from Teespring, actually.
Oh, yeah. He has a lot of stuff on there. He has some pillows with a couple of his...
you can decorate your couch with the Loud Mouth Mercenary.
Oh, you can decorate yourself. Mm-hmm. They have a pillow. They have a canvas. They have a big flag. I mean, they have small stickers. My kids are going to love it because it's the lovely one with him ripping the unicorn in half.
Yes, of course.
Their mother hates that, but the kids love it. Good. And I haven't ordered yet, but I will soon here, is they have nice coffee mugs. They have one with the Loudmouth Mercenary on there.
Yep.
And then they have one with that other shirt. It was like, everybody sit there and shut up for a minute.
Yeah.
I'm going to get that cup because I really like it. But definitely, if you haven't seen your guys and you want to support your guys, check out this. Get some stuff from Darren.
I've always said, pandemic or not, if you want your guy to be around long enough
Support the wrestler.
Do it, damn
for
right.
Vince to eventually give him a contract for anything, buy the merch. Buy the merch.
And definitely
support them. It's no different than supporting metal bands. You got to buy the merch for them to be able to tour.
And as we've plugged it up many times on here, go find him on Patreon.
Oh yes.
Oh, he has such
so many
great
good
videos on there.
It's great.
He has his own TV station on there.
He does.
Podcast, which is so absolutely amazing.
Yep.
His
okay, so from there, so we go a little bit from Darren. Once again, we're gonna transition into one of my favorite segments on the show, which is Blind Resume. Jesse, I believe this is your first.
This is my first time. Yes.
And, okay, good. So for those of you,
he's a virgin at this.
So
we'll do it gently.
So
maybe.
So for those of you, who don't know, in past episodes we've had Blind Resume, which is someone on the show. This week it's gonna be Leroy. They come up with they pick a wrestler at random and they turn around and they're gonna read off some stats, and the people remaining on the show have to try to determine who that wrestler is. We are allowed to ask certain questions. However, the person who is giving out the information is allowed to withhold any information they want that they think will eventually give it away. Because in the past, we've done Ron Simmons, we've done Rocky Johnson, we've done people that, and Candice LeRae, we've done people that you give away one thing, boom, you got that person instantly.
And Raven.
Huh?
We had Raven.
We had Raven as well.
Yeah.
What about Raven?
Yeah. So anyway, Leroy, you have something for us today.
Yes. All right. Well, this gentleman.
Okay.
Is a male.
All right.
I assume
he was
okay. He's a gentleman.
He was born youngest of 8 children in Plains, Dealing, Louisiana. He is not billed from Louisiana.
Okay.
He is billed from Texas. That's a nice little hint there.
Okay.
All right. 13. Both his parents, unfortunately, died. Okay. He lived with his older 16-year-old sister, and then he started living with his older brother.
Okay.
All right. He is a 2-time Hall of Famer.
Okay. A lot of those.
No, there's not too many of them. He started wrestling in 1989, so it's kind of a newer. Here's a fun part I did not know about this when I was looking this up. He's had 35 championships.
Can I jump in?
Go ahead.
Is it Booker T?
I was going to say Booker. I was thinking Booker too.
I was hoping it would last a little bit longer.
As soon as you said 89 and you read off about the mother, I'm like,
well, when you said both the parents died, you said youngest of 8 kids, you said 89. As soon as you said 89, I'm like, okay, Book's my first name.
And you said 89, a 2-time Hall of Famer.
I wanted to give you a little more time, but I think we both were looking at Booker.
Yeah,
without a doubt.
As soon as
we
you
have
said
talked about him a few times in the last few weeks.
I also want to point out in the future when we do that, if you've got something like Hall of Famer, save that till last.
Well, it wasn't too bad because if he would have kept going, I actually might have gotten confused again. But as soon as he said 2-time Hall of Famer 89, I'm like, that's not Booker T.
There's a few.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I mean, it's just so many. I mean, he's been in so many he's been everywhere.
Yes.
He's worked everywhere.
Oh yeah, I mean, it's like being a tag team champ with his brother and everything.
Harlem Heat, in my opinion.
About Rushmore tag teams.
Well, not just that, but in my opinion, them and the Steiners are 1 and 1A for tag team of the 90s.
Oh, for sure.
Of that decade, I think it's. You can't go wrong if you pick the Steiners or them.
Yeah, exactly. I agree.
There's a couple. A Wrestling Observer newsletter, he got a couple of words that I think are funny.
Okay.
Most underrated in 2002.
I would agree.
Yeah.
I would agree.
And then worst television announcer in 2017.
The problem with Book of being an announcer is announcers are always supposed to be in a box. They're supposed to be a certain way.
Yeah.
But remember, that's how people look at it. At the end of the day, the announcers that always get the biggest number are the Jim Rosses. I would even put the Mike Tenays in there.
Oh, for sure.
Booker, in my opinion, and Jesse, I'm just gonna say he comes off a lot more urban.
Oh well, yeah.
Than I think a lot of what the announcers are. Jim's always been a good old Texas boy.
Yeah.
But Booker comes off as no, first and foremost, Booker comes off as Booker.
Yeah.
Booker is Booker.
Yeah.
But it's.
I think what got to most people that made them like.
It's a position in which Booker talks very street. That's not a
no. He's just himself.
Yes, exactly.
But I think where people kind of like
they're not used to that.
They weren't used to it, and two, back then they were like, "What the hell is all these sayings he's saying?" But like,
I loved Booker.
But I'm like, I actually loved Booker.
I want Booker and Matt Stryker to be a.
Oh, that would have been great. I actually liked the thing between Corey Graves and Booker because you could tell they kind of didn't like each other when they were announcing together. Yeah. But that actually made Raw so much more fun.
Oh yeah. Anyway,
but to be honest, Book, if you ever listen to this. Some of your calling of some of the matches was pretty damn awful, brother. I love you, Hall of Famer. You deserve it. Yeah. I actually got the chance to meet him years ago when I was 13, and he was so sweet to me and my sister. Yeah. But man, some of those matches you called, bro. What the hell are you talking about?
Yeah.
All right. So actually, it's kind of fun. It's surprising Leroy's going to get multiple segments today. We are going from blind resume. By the way, I think that's the first blind resume that we were able to actually get.
I know, I gotta try
Although,
next time.
No. I technically got Raven. I think
it took you a little bit longer.
You still gave me Raven.
Yeah.
But anyway. But so now we're gonna go to this day in wrestling history. Today is currently August 16th, 2020.
Yeah.
If I can remove the year, I could.
Yeah, we're not gonna.
We'll come back to that.
All right.
Leroy.
Well, we're going for the old schools here. Old school guys. 60 years ago, Vern Gagne, good old Minnesota boy, he awarded himself the AWA World Heavyweight Championship. He did that a few times.
Yes, he did.
And it was very interesting, but he had to go on to win that multiple times during his time up to from 68 to 75.
Vern always took the sport seriously. Vern always put on great matches, and I think Vern helped create an entire generation of wrestlers who took it seriously.
Yeah.
You know,
damn right.
I mean, Jim Cornette always says people are like, "Oh, you're stuck in the past. You don't get modern wrestling." No, it made more sense in the 80s.
Oh yeah.
I hate to say it because guys took it seriously, and Vern's fingerprints are all over the 80s and even the early
70s and 80s. All right, 19 years ago today. WWF, WWE, whatever you want to call them now, presented its first ever live episode of SmackDown.
That's right. Yes.
Yeah.
I just watched it on the network.
And it did. The show debuted with this new theme of "Beautiful People" by Marilyn Manson, and a new set with a large fist.
Yep.
The large fist.
Yep.
And that they had The Rock, Shawn Stasiak, Albert X-Pac, Rhino, Rob Van Dam, Chris Jericho, Chris Canyon, and Diamond Dallas
It was
Page.
always looked at.
It was and Booker T was on that show too.
Yes.
It was always looked at.
I think that it was during the invasion angle too.
Was it?
Was that
well, there is
2001, 2002.
That sounds about right. Yeah.
About 19 years ago.
Yeah.
Now I want to point out, SmackDown was always considered the B show.
Yeah.
For a long time.
Yes.
It was almost considered developmental for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
Now I look back to when John Cena came up and Paul Heyman was running it. That was the first time that Paul Heyman sort of made SmackDown into something that it was no longer the redheaded stepchild.
Yeah.
It was a serious contender. You could put stars on both shows. Mm-hmm. And I think that, like Cena said when he got drafted to SmackDown Live, it was a ragtag bunch of dudes and gals that nobody really gave a damn about.
Yeah. Vince
didn't really want them. He said, "Here you go, Paul." Paul was writing most of the stuff. And that they were beating Raw in ticket sales, live event sales, merch sales, there was a real competition, and SmackDown was in it. But I think that SmackDown is now officially the second longest running episodic television show of all time. It's right up there with Raw in terms of history. I don't think SmackDown's history is wrestling history.
Yes, it is.
It's as big as anything. And now, because Fox wanted it, Vince is now putting a lot more effort into that, and Raw's kind of the B show. but again, money talks.
BS looks.
Yeah, exactly. So my biggest thing is it was the WWE version of Thunder.
Yep.
But I don't think it's ever been as bad as Thunder. And
it never was.
And you
Never
know,
was.
I'm that person that even to this day when I watch SmackDown, I don't know why, but I think it was because of how big the stage was for Raw versus the Fist on SmackDown. SmackDown to me, it's always felt like a much more intimate family type show in the sense that you don't feel like you're 40 rows up, you feel like you're right there in the front row, whereas Raw always had such an aura that the aura put you 40 rows up.
And to be fair, I gotta give Vince so much credit for this. Besides the one time when they were on Sci-Fi, he has always tried to keep SmackDown on on either something like UPN, which everyone got, or now Fox, which everyone gets.
Yep.
So SmackDown they try to always make it accessible.
The thing about it is, for me, is that I think we all know going back when they brought out Thunder, and there was the rumor of having literally just a show called the NWO, and it was going to be the NWO 2-hour show.
Yeah.
I don't think, and this is where I think AEW could be in trouble because that 4-year deal does allow them another TV show, and this is why I'm saying don't bring Dark to network television. Leave it on YouTube
for now.
Vince has always made sure that SmackDown was up to snuff.
Yes.
He's always made sure that whether he cared about it as much as Raw, it was always presented in a way that you took it seriously.
Yeah.
No one ever took Thunder seriously. People barely take Dark seriously.
Only reason I do is because I can see that they're actually trying to develop something sometimes.
And that's entirely fair. But SmackDown, whether it was the match that you saw, a match end in a DQ, and then the actual match happened on that was back when it was Raw Super Show.
Also, here's what you got to give Vince credit for too, that some of the promotions who are now on TV don't realize. He had a 1-hour show that used to get switched from USA to MTV with Sunday Night Heat. Like they would continue storylines for an hour through Sunday Night Heat.
However, I will always live by Velocity and Heat were almost two separate shows.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
Stuff would.
Velocity was definitely his first attempt at development.
Velocity and Heat. I've said on the show before. Stuff would happen on there that would eventually make it to air, but it always felt like it was still a separate entity. In a way.
Yeah.
Now, go ahead, Leroy.
All right. Well, got a couple good ones here.
Okay.
And a couple birthday kind of things too, so it'll be a good one.
Nice.
All right. 16 years ago today, on Raw in Toronto, Canada, Randy Orton defeated Chris Benoit to retain his title. That's not the real big thing. Then there was the post-celebration with Evolution, where he went on Batista's shoulders and he got dropped.
I think
that
was this day.
Yes.
Wow.
Yes. Randy's face run directly following that.
Yes.
I think it's an underrated face run. It wasn't.
It is, but it wasn't better than his 2010 one, which was so good.
Oh God, no. But I do think it was different.
Yeah.
In a good way.
Mm-hmm.
But look, Randy's always going to make a better heel. I'm not going to deny that.
Oh, for sure.
But I don't think it was as bad as everyone thought it was.
No.
I honestly don't think it was that bad.
Then I have one more, and then I'll get some birthdays here.
Sweet.
10 years ago on Raw, there was a taping. Sheamus beat Zack Ryder to retain his WWE Championship in 11 seconds.
Yep.
That is the fastest title match in Raw history. It still stands.
And can
today.
I just say this?
Before his WrestleMania match with Daniel Bryan was created.
Yes. That's a Raw record, though.
And can I just say this, Jesse? Okay, so that's a prime example of another issue. And again, this isn't take shots at Spot Monkey Hour with Jesse, but here's the deal. So Zack Ryder is now going under. I think
his actual name, Matt Cardona.
His actual name, Matt Cardona. But this is my other issue. Jim Cornette said it best. Why am I supposed to care about Matt Cardona when he's been presented on WWE television for so long?
They basically buried him for so long after he got himself over.
I wouldn't say he was buried because here's the deal. I don't think that... Because here's the deal. Myself included, I'll admit this. the fans wanted Ryder to win the title, but where was he going to go with it?
Well, because when he won the Intercontinental Championship,
and
it was a little
the next night
because he lost it the next, which I hated. I'm like, wait a minute, you
agree.
had this high of WrestleMania where we're all excited.
I agree. But again, if Zack Ryder is what got Matt Cardona over, Zack Ryder was kind of a mid-card talent.
About to say close to
anyway.
upper mid-card, yeah.
But see, this is another problem that I have is when Matt Cardona.
Oh, by the way, before we finish,
Yeah.
Before you finish your thought, I just want to get this out there. And if someone wants to send this message to Cody, there's nothing wrong with calling the TNT Championship a mid-card title. It is not a World Heavyweight Championship.
No, it's not.
Do not. I just wanted to get that out. There's nothing wrong with mid-card titles. Intercontinental Championship used to be called the Workhorse title because he would build stars off of the guys.
Regardless of AJ Styles saying, I just want to sit at home and join us, he's still working every night.
Yes.
So it's just... All right, go back to your thoughts.
What bothered me about his debut was why am I supposed to know who Matt Cardona is to begin with? Why?
If you've never seen him as Zack Ryder,
he's been on. No. We all saw him on TV for 10 years as Zack Ryder. We know who he is. If you want to go, what is he doing here, and not say anything about the name, let that go on.
Yeah.
And then just, by the way, it was such a short segment of saving Cody, you probably could have just gotten through it without saying his name the entire damn time. But the thing about it is that, once again, we are just supposed to know that his real name is Matt Cardona. We're just supposed to know that he's friends with Cody. You can't wait a week.
Yeah.
What? And again, this is why I can't stand the announcing.
There is no
why
no
am
like.
I?
We
they
signed
were so
the guy.
Hyped
Let's build him. I mean, Impact did a really good job with the former Kurt Hawkins because they had him in a battle royal, but now they've been building him through promos.
Right.
That's how you're supposed to do it.
He still has the same ring gear though,
which is weird as hell.
It's just the same ring gear, different name.
Bro, change your gear. Continue.
All right. And last we had our birthdays. Two of them, they're no longer with us, but today, Hoyt Richard Murdoch, or otherwise known as Dick Murdoch, would have been 74.
Wow.
And then his real name is Jack Ediskin, but everybody knew him as Fritz Von Erich of the Von Erich family.
Wow.
He would have been 91 today.
Wow.
Probably the most gifted yet cursed family.
I mean,
definitely.
hopefully, the one who's still signed with MLW does not have any of the same issues they have.
No, he had his sons up there and his daughters.
Family they are.
Oh yeah.
What a legacy.
And then we got
TNA botched having them, and that was a botch.
All right.
I'm not even getting into that.
Well, then we have a few that are here still with us.
Okay.
Big Cass is 31 today.
Hey.
Cedric Alexander is 30.
Oh wow.
And then we got a shout out to our lovely guy in the PWL, Aaron. It's his birthday today.
Aaron.
I don't know how old he is.
Mr. McMahon Bowles.
I don't know how old. I don't know his age. I'm not worried about that. But it is birthday. Happy birthday.
Happy birthday.
I'm not at liberty to give away of Mr. McMahon.
We'll have to tag him in this one and say we get a shout out for him.
Big Cass is 31.
Yeah.
Yes.
But I just want to get a couple of words out, and I'll tell him that we did this. Aaron, for those of you that may listen, go to your Facebook, look up the PWL, join us. I'm an admin. Leroy's been there forever. Jesse's been there for a while. Mm-hmm. Aaron started it, and I remember when it was just him and Bruce. May Bruce rest in peace. They came to us, me and Marcus. And they asked us if we wanted to be administrators because we were posting a bunch, we were active all the time, and we agreed to it, not really knowing if we were going to be able to do it, didn't know if we were going to have the time, and then we got into it, and my man Aaron is family until death, parts any of us. He is family. He is an amazing guy. He gets animated occasionally. I mean, I mean, he'll defend his stuff, but I mean, just a real, genuine guy who ultimately just wants people to enjoy wrestling, and he's someone that gets very passionate about the PWL because this is something that his friends told him to start. He did, and we've all worked hard to keep going, It's a very free-forming place. People are allowed to be themselves. There's obviously some rules that allow people to be themselves, but I mean, my shout out to that guy. I mean, like I said, that's a brother of mine that I will have for the rest of my life, and you know, congratulations on the day, and I hope you have a good time. But yeah, I mean, look us up on Facebook. You know, we're all there. We're all having a good time. It's just a good time. And the thing about it is that where a lot of wrestling groups will put in the description or they'll put in their name, okay, this is specifically for the 80s era. This is specifically for the 90s. This is the Attitude thing. This is we cover anything and everything.
Exactly.
If it's professional wrestling, it can be posted. If it's professional, we cover everything from Japanese death matches to CZW death matches to, we haven't covered it yet, but we've mentioned that Vince Russo is now back in the wrestling business.
We don't need to talk about that. Oh, jeez.
With you know, Devotion Pro Wrestling, but it's just we got guys in there who don't like WWE. We got guys in there who only like the old days. You know,
guys who only really like New Japan.
Yeah. No, I mean, it's like we got everybody in there, guys, gals, everybody. But it's just, again, it's the sport we love, and you know, again, I'm not trying to drop their names so we get more views. But this is why I have an issue with Spot Monkey, is because, yes, you're a wrestling company, and I want you to succeed, but we take wrestling serious in there, and when people come in and try to make a complete farce of it, that's where like that's when the emotions hit, and that's where I think a lot of my emotions come from Spot Monkey. Is I don't think they care to make it like legit wrestling, even though they
have a ranking system though.
Oh yeah.
Listen, I say that with all the sarcasm.
Can we stop with this sports-based presentation BS? Because we all know they ain't doing that no more.
But by the way, Vince didn't even try after telling Fox he would. So yeah, it's okay, guys.
Yeah, no, but no. I mean, a huge shout out to him, and missed a couple of things. Still haven't gotten to New Japan, but we'll get to them. We'll cover the U.S. Cup here at some point. But that, I think, is a great way to end it. That's a good time to end it, Jesse.
Definitely.
Please come back anytime.
Yeah, we'll have to do this again.
As consistently as you can.
For
Please
sure,
come back.
For sure.
Leroy, always a pleasure to have your baked goods while we're on the show.
They were
and I'm very glad that you were eating them. You know, it makes me feel good too.
I think I ate half my weight in banana bread, but I'm happy about that. But anyway, thank you guys so much. This is Zach saying like us on Facebook, subscribe to us on Podomatic.com, YouTube, Spotify, and iTunes.
Damn right. Find us there all.
Find us everywhere. And by the way, to all the fans out there who listen, and we know you listen, we know we get views, find us on Facebook and ask to be on the show, because you're welcome on the show. No issue there. Yeah.
My door is open for anybody.
Yep. But yeah, so anyway, like us and subscribe. Our YouTube channel has some behind the scenes videos are now up. We're going to work on some more of those. But thank you all so much, and have a good day.